Chapter 11-18. The next day, the firearms were transported from Nanjing, and the backyard of the Lin family was filled to the brim. Just as Lin Shun and Lin Yen were wondering how Lin Muyu transported these supplies, Lin Muyu took out more than 100 space bags, all of which were brought back from the Shattered Cauldron realm. She had looted almost all the space bags in Lanyan City, and now they came in handy. The transportation method of the space bag within the space bag perfectly swallowed this batch of firearms. Finally, it turned into a small cosmos bag that was tied to Lin Muyu's waist. Lin Shun and Lin Yen were dumbfounded. On the third day, they were ready to leave. Lin Muyu bade farewell to her father and brother, then left Gomang to protect her family. Anyway, the war between the Shattered Cauldron realm and the Immortal realm did not lack Gomang. Her family, however, lacked a super bodyguard with both strength and character. Amidst the flying snow, Lin Muyu changed into the armor of the Shattered Cauldron realm and stood on the balcony of her house. She was about to leave with Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. Lin Shun and Lin Yen sent her outside. The snow fell on Lin Shun's hair and shoulders, as if it had dyed his hair white. He did not know when his son would return, and his eyes were filled with reluctance and helplessness. Lin Muyu slowly flew up, followed by Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. The three of them turned back to look at their family. "Xiao Ji, you must come back early," Lin Yen said loudly. Lin Muyu trembled. "Brother, I will." In the sky, golden light shone brightly. The passage to the plane had been opened. Golden runes flew and lingered in the air. This kind of divine power was not something a mortal could possess. The heavy snow gradually blocked Lin Muyu's view of her father until she could not see Lin Shun's face. Suddenly, Lin Shun's heart-wrenching cry came from the snow, "Son, come back early." Lin Muyu's body trembled, and tears flowed out of her eyes. She lowered her hands and bent her body slightly. Her entire body trembled, and she cried like a child. Why did she have to leave her family? Why did she have to step onto such a dangerous path? Perhaps it was because of that responsibility. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi looked at Lin Muyu with teary eyes. "Big brother Mu," Lin Muyu didn't respond. Instead, she raised her head and looked at the sky. She couldn't bear to turn around and chase after her father and brother anymore. Therefore, she transformed into a bolt of lightning and flashed into the space tunnel. Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin followed closely behind her. Meanwhile, from the East Sea, streams of golden light rose into the sky. Those were the figures of the 30,000 Gong Gong Navy warriors, who flew into the heaven. The scorching sand of time cleansed their bodies. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi all slightly knitted their eyebrows as they sensed a great discomfort. After the divine punishment descended, their cultivations had been dropping ceaselessly, and they seemed to be unable to bear the strong impact caused by the space shuttling. This was also the reason why Lin Muyu left in a hurry. If she delayed any longer, she might not be able to return to Broken Cauldron World. After an unknown period of time, a golden crack appeared in the dark space ahead of them. That was the entrance to Broken Cauldron World. Lin Muyu and the other two passed through the crack. In the next moment, their eyes shone, and they were already above Lanyan City. As expected, it was snowing in Lanyan City. The heavy snow covered this ancient and majestic city with snow. The three of them flew straight towards Zhe Tian Palace Hall. Before they even landed, there were already people coming over to welcome them. It was Feng Jixing and Wei Chou. Without saying a word, Feng Jixing opened his arms and hugged his brother. He smiled and said, "How are you doing in your hometown?" Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. "I've returned to my hometown in glory, and my family is healthy." That's good, that's good." Feng Jixing patted his shoulder. "Then come back and focus on the battle." Lin Muyu nodded, then said, "Big brother Feng, is there any news on Yangshan's side?" "No." Feng Jixing said, "The divine punishment has descended, and everyone's power is being taken away by the heaven and earth. Yangshang will soon become immortal, and he won't have the ruthlessness he once had. Everyone will be equal soon, and we can have a fair battle. Is there any news from the heavenly realm? Not yet. Lin Muyu looked at the restless Qin Yin beside her, and said softly, Xiao Yin, after arranging everything in Lanyan City, I will accompany you to the immortal realm, and take a look at the place where Sister Xian disappeared. Qin Yin nodded hard. That was what she wanted to do the most. Immortal realm, East Heaven, 8 wastelands boundary. Lightning flashed between heaven and earth. The peaceful 8 wastelands boundary no longer existed, and in its place was a scene of doomsday. Heaven and earth were covered in blood red, and other than that, there were demonic lightning that could kill divine bodies. As the power of the nomological laws decreased, the demonic aura between heaven and earth began to fill up. Can't hold on any longer? The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor stood majestically next to the Bahuang pillar, raised his hands, and infused his godly power into the pillar. He shouted, I don't care what heavenly punishment you are, the Bahuang pillar is the pillar that protects all living beings in the world. How can I let you, a mere heavenly thief, destroy it just like that? In the sky, the blood cloud slowly pressed down, forming a majestic aura. Instantly, the 8 pillars trembled violently, and cracked. Wang, the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor's godly power seeped into the pillars, and he roared angrily to resist the majestic heavenly might. But even a peerless expert like the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor could not resist the heavenly might. In the blink of an eye, the Bahuang pillar collapsed, and the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor spat out a mouthful of blood, and his forehead was covered with sweat from the pain. He gritted his teeth and said, Why? Why? Demon Emperor, behind him, Xiao's voice sounded. Xiao. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor turned majestically, and murmured, Why aren't you guarding the 6 harmonies world? Tears welled up in Xiao's eyes. Demon Emperor, the 6 harmonies gate has collapsed. The 6 harmonies world has collapsed. Demon Emperor, our celestial realm has really come to an end, no. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor's expression became abnormally ferocious, and he roared angrily, I am the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, I'm not afraid of anything. I don't care what divine punishment or heavenly punishment, I'll support the 3 realms even if I have to give up this body of flesh and blood. As he spoke, the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor suddenly soared into the sky, and he raised his palms, which transformed into giant arms that held up the sky. Just like that, he forcibly held up the collapsing sky. But how could heavenly punishment be stopped just like that? Purple lightning shot out from the blood cloud, and like thorns, they wreaked havoc around the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor's body. Light shone in all directions, and the Demon Emperor's painful howls reverberated between heaven and earth. Demon Emperor, why do you have to do this? Xiao's face was covered in tears. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor's entire body was imprisoned by vines made of lightning, but he opened his eyes wide and shouted in a low voice, Don't cry, I am the guardian of the East. Even if I die, I won't let 8 wasteland realm collapse. When heavenly punishment descends, everyone tries to avoid it, but I don't believe it. Even if I die, I won't take a step back. Xiao, immediately return to East Heaven, and protect the God's Stone. That is the source of power for the gods of East Heaven. Xiao wiped away her tears, and nodded, yes. Just as Xiao left, 2 streaks of light flew over. It was Lin Muyu and Qin Yin. Big brother. When Lin Muyu saw the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor trapped under the blood cloud, her heart ached as if it had been pierced by a sharp knife. The once arrogant 7 luminaries Demon Emperor had actually fallen to such a miserable state. Clang! The Xianyuan sword was unsheathed, and Lin Muyu turned into a bolt of lightning and flew under the blood cloud. The sword light wreaked havoc, and with a pu sound, the lightning continued to grow like vines, and the speed at which it grew was far faster than Lin Muyu's cutting speed. He was anxious, and with bloodshot eyes, he roared angrily, and used his strongest power to fight against the blood cloud. SSSSSS, the blood cloud's lightning vines pierced under the 7 luminaries' demon emperor's skin, and began to continuously absorb the 7 luminaries' demon emperor's divine power. No, Lin Muyu was blasted dozens of meters back by the surging lightning, and tears swirled in her eyes. She struggled to raise her arms, and the Xianyuan sword shone brightly as it pierced into the blood cloud. Suddenly, a series of stars exploded in the blood cloud. The 7 luminaries' demon emperor opened his eyes, and there was a smile in his tired eyes. Silly boy, don't waste your energy. It's useless, my power has replaced the Bahuang pillar to fight against the demonic qi. They are absorbing my divine power, but at least this can delay it, and prevent the 8 wasteland domain from collapsing immediately. Lin Muyu's tears fell, and he pulled out his sword, flew to the 7 luminaries' demon emperor, and slashed randomly, but the vines were endless. Don't be so stubborn. The 7 luminaries' demon emperor looked at him, and murmured, such a stubborn supreme god, I alone am enough. You still have your own things to do, don't waste your energy to save me, this is my destiny, you have to go, fulfill your destiny, big brother. Lin Muyu grabbed a lightning vine, and his palm was burning hot, and he said, I'm useless, I can't save you, no one can save me. The 7 luminaries' demon emperor seemed to be very tired, and he closed his eyes, then continued, You, listen carefully, the fall of the gods is a fact, and it is irreversible. The seal of the 6 realms has been destroyed, and the power of the demon realm has flowed into the 6 realms. The demonic qi is looking for a new host, and those bloodthirsty, greedy gods will absorb the demonic qi, and become demon gods. Once they become demon gods, their power will be far beyond our imagination. Listen, your mission now is not to save me, but to kill. Kill? Lin Muyu was shocked. Yes, kill those demon gods. Northern Heaven Realm. Northern Heaven Realm's Yangshang is tyrannical by nature, and his subordinates are greedy beyond measure. Once the demon realm recognizes them, the entire 6 realms will be finished. You have to kill all the demon gods like Yangshang before the demonic qi reaches the shattered cauldron realm. Leave quickly, the blood cloud demonic qi only wants my power, you can't threaten them for now, leave quickly. I got it. Lin Muyu put down the lightning vine, and looked at the dense lightning wrapping around the body of the 7 luminaries' demon emperor. You, remember. Heaven and earth's vital energy, vast and everlasting. Heaven and earth's vital energy, vast and everlasting. Lin Muyu clenched her fists, and looked in the direction of the mortal realm. The war between the god realm and the demon realm had finally begun. However, the power of the gods was weakening, while the power of the demons was increasing crazily. Chapter 11:19. In the Chaos Realm, the seal of the 6 realms had been completely broken. Endless demonic aura filled the universe, turning the originally peaceful Chaos Realm into a sea of fire overflowing with demonic aura. In the sky, the battle angels wielding holy swords of light had serious expressions on their faces. The wings on their backs were fully spread open, and at the very front was a group of radiant angels wielding shields. This time, the Western Divine Realm had mobilized their main forces to resist the invasion of the devil energy. At the forefront of the crowd was Claude, holding a flowing light sword. His figure was shrouded in a dark light, and his expression could not be seen. Swoosh swoosh, 2 beams of light descended from the sky and landed beside Shi Ming, whose body had already collapsed. Shi Ming's mouth exploded completely, and an invisible barrier appeared in its place. It was like a thin layer of gauze separating the realm of gods and the realm of demons. It was as if it existed in name only. Sister Haiyan. Qin Yin held Dong Hua in her hand, her eyes filled with reluctance as she looked into the depths of the barrier. Lin Muyu guarded beside Qin Yin, frowning. Xiao Yin, Sister Xian and Eva's aura all disappeared here. They might not have really died in battle. Perhaps, they have gone to the other side of the demon realm? Qin Yin moved her red lips, wanting to say something but hesitating. Lin Muyu naturally knew what she wanted to say, so she comforted her softly. You can't go to the demon realm. After all, your cultivation is not comparable to the seraphim. Also, you have to believe in Sister Xian. If she is really still alive, she will definitely be able to fight her way out and return to our side. Yeah. Qin Yin nodded gently. Lin Muyu slowly pulled out the Xianyuan sword and smiled. But it seems that we have intruded into someone else's important place. Behind them, Claude slowly descended with thousands of battle angels. The angels did not say a word, but looked at the two warily. There were also acquaintances among them. Li Fei, the deputy dean of the largest training ground in the Western Divine Realm, equivalent to one of Qin Yin's first teachers. Xin, is it really you? Li Fei looked at Qin Yin in astonishment. At this moment, Qin Yin's temperament was completely different. Her aura could not be mentioned in the same breath as before. Her strength was even above Li Fei's. Vice Dean, long time no see. Qin Yin smiled gently. Li Fei nodded and smiled. Yes, it's been a long time. Everything has changed. But I don't understand. The Eastern and Western Divine Realms have long declared war. Since you've stepped into East Heaven, why come back here? Qin Yin looked at the endless demon world and said, because of Sister Haiyan. Li Fei's expression changed slightly. She wanted to say something but stopped. Claude smiled faintly and said, Xin, you used to be a golden-winged battle angel of the Western Divine Realm, my favorite student. Now you've joined the Eastern Divine Realm. Is this how you repay me and Shi Yan? Great Hegemon, I've never been your favorite disciple. I was just a tool you used to kill. Qin Yin looked at Claude indifferently. The luster of the eyes of Blazing Dawn slowly appeared, and the aura of the domain gradually dispersed. Even Claude felt a little uncomfortable. Humph. Claude snorted coldly and raised his eyebrows. You traitor. Since you're here today, don't even think about leaving. Claude, you idiot. The one who spoke was Lin Muyu. The moment she opened her mouth, she scolded angrily. The group of angels of the Western Divine Realm were stunned. For so many years, no one dared to scold Claude like this. Besides the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, Lin Muyu was the only one who dared to do so. All the angels were worried. It's over. This handsome kid is finished. He definitely won't be able to leave. However, Lin Muyu was not afraid at all. He held the Xianyuan sword tightly with both hands and held it in front of him. Waves of divine power rippled out. He looked at Claude and smiled calmly. The seal of the 6 realms has been destroyed. The demon Qi has invaded. The first place to bear the brunt is the Western Divine Realm. Do you still want to fight me at this time? Do you still want to continue to fight with the Eastern Divine Realm? Would you rather sink into becoming a puppet of the demon realm and give up the glory and dignity of the Western gods? Claude was speechless. Lin Muyu's words were like knives stabbing his heart. They were all sore spots for Claude. The sharp sword in his hand trembled slightly. He said, Lin Muyu, why did you bring Xin to the chaotic realm? Don't tell me it's just to remember Shi Yan who died in battle. No, Shi Yan won't die in battle. She must still be alive. I believe in her. Lin Muyu's words were sonorous. He said, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't be stubborn anymore. The power of the demon realm has begun to infiltrate. The future of the Western Divine Realm is in your hands. Take your people and leave here. Don't die in vain. I've just peeped into the power of the demon realm. It's not something you can fight against. Moreover, Tian Fa has already taken more than 40% of our divine power. Even if you stay here, you won't be able to do anything. Claude's heart trembled. Lin Muyu had seen through everything. She even saw through him losing 40% of his strength. However, Claude still said sternly, the matters of the Western Divine Realm don't need a marshal of the Eastern Divine Realm like you to manage. Just do your part. Since you said so, the 4 Divine Realms should join forces to fight against the Demon Realm. Go, take Xin away from here. I don't want to kill anymore. Lin Muyu's lips curled up. She smiled. Then, farewell. In front of so many battle angels, Lin Muyu had to leave some face for the ruler of the Western Divine Realm. The truth was that as long as Lin Muyu wanted to leave, Claude definitely wouldn't be able to stop her. Even if it was a one-on-one battle, Lin Muyu might not necessarily lose. Of course, with the addition of a large group of battle angels, she would definitely lose. However, escaping wouldn't be a problem. Xiao Yin, let's go. Let's return to the Shattered Cauldron Realm and complete our mission. Let's stop the war with war, Lin Muyu said softly. Okay. Qin Yin nodded. The two of them dove down to the mortal world. Looking at the backs of Lin Muyu and Qin Yin, Li Fei moved her red lips and said, when Shi Yan and Eva were here, our Western Divine Realm could be said to be full of talents. But now, we no longer have geniuses like Lin Muyu and Xin. Don't say any more, Li Fei. Claude glanced at her indifferently and said, are there any movements from the other 3 Divine Realms? Li Fei said, I just received news that the 6 Harmonies realm guarded by Xiao, the Middle Palace realm guarded by Sun Feng, and the Yellow Springs realm guarded by Dong Ming have all fallen. In addition to the spiritual movement realm that Lord Ruler has just lost, only the 8 Wasteland realm guarded by the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor is struggling to hold on. However, I believe that Lord Ruler can also sense that the divine power of the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor is rapidly depleting. If nothing unexpected happens, the 8 Wasteland realm will not be able to hold on much longer. Claude took a deep breath. A hint of sadness appeared on his face as he said, I didn't expect that after fighting with the 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor and Dong Ming for so many years, I would end up benefiting from it. Just what is the Demon Realm trying to do? Devour the 6 realms, kill the gods, and destroy the Buddhas. What else can they do? Li Fei's expression was indifferent as she said, we are definitely on the Demon Realm's kill list. Lord Ruler, please make a decision as soon as possible. Should we fight against the Demon Realm's flames in the Spirit Mountains, or should we scatter and flee to the various lower realms to take refuge? This is all for Lord Ruler to decide. If we take refuge, who will resist the invasion of the Demon Realm? But Lord Ruler, our power will disappear at once. In less than half a month, we will all be reduced to mortals. What right do we have to fight against the Demon Realm? What right do we have to talk about protecting the 6 realms? Claude looked into the distance. There, a group of battle angels were waving their sharp swords and slashing at the demonic flames. Angels were constantly being devoured by the demonic flames, and their souls were burned away. As Li Fei had said, the divine realm could not hold on any longer. Forget it. Let's go to the lower realms to take refuge. Claude looked at the crowd and said, all the gods of the Western Divine Realm, follow me to the border of the lower realms. We will never return until this heavenly punishment is over. Yes, Lord Ruler. Streams of light disappeared from the universe of the primal chaos realm. All the gods had fallen and gone to the lower realms. No one knew what was waiting for them in the future, but one thing was for sure. Claude had given up on his responsibility and the countless planes under the jurisdiction of the Western Divine Realm. Shattered Cauldron Realm, Celestial Pole Continent. Heavy snow danced in the sky of Tianji City. This city, which was designated as the capital of the Kingdom of Shang by Yangshang, had gathered almost all the elites of the Celestial Pole Continent. The business here was flourishing. However, the gods were rather rampant and did not care about the mortals. In the Tianji Palace, all the gods were wrapped in leather robes. All of them looked at the heavy snow outside blankly. The snow on the streets of the imperial city has already piled up to 2 meters high. There are more than 10,000 vehicles transporting snow out of the city every day. A god emperor frowned and said, "Your Majesty Emperor Shang, since the heavenly punishment has already descended, we should end this war as soon as possible. We should bring our warriors back to the northern divine realm and resist the invasion of the demon realm." Resist the demon realm? Xianxia sat on the throne with a golden wine cup in his hand and said, "The eastern and western divine realms have already been defeated. Who else can resist the demon realm? Returning to the divine realm now is courting death. Why not stay here?" "But I heard that Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi have already returned to the Shattered Cauldron realm. The Shattered Cauldron realm can be said to be full of talents now. If we don't take the initiative to attack, I'm afraid we will be controlled by others." That makes sense. Xianxia narrowed his eyes and said, "The main strength of Lin Muyu's Dragon League comes from the 64 domains. They are all a bunch of old antiques. Although they have powerful divine power, they may not be a match for our northern divine realm's god execution battle formation. Pass down my order to quickly make preparations. We must forge 2,000 warships within a month. After a month, we will set out and destroy the Shattered Cauldron realm in one go. We will be the king of this celestial pole continent." "Yes." Beside Xianxia, Dora said in a low voice, "Then what about Emperor Shang and Si Kongyao? Should we touch her?" The Baizhe mercenaries under Si Kongyao's control are already close to 300,000 troops. The warships at the port are also close to 1,000. This is a big piece of fat meat. "I know." The corner of Xianxia's mouth rose and a sinister smile appeared. He said, "Previously, I was only afraid of Si Kongming's identity as a sky beyond heaven. Now that heavenly punishment has descended, all the gods will be reduced to mortals. As long as everyone is immortal, it will be time for us to take action against the Baizhe mercenaries." How can we allow others to sleep beside our bed? Am I right? His Majesty Emperor Shang is wise. The entire hall was filled with echoes of praise. Chapter 11:20. Lanyan City. Heavy snow was falling, and winter plum blossoms were in full bloom. The imperial garden of Zhe Tian Palace was filled with the rustling sound of snow falling to the ground. A group of imperial guards walked slowly through the falling snow, and palace maids were serving in the pavilion of the imperial garden with heaters in their hands. On the table was the Nuwa zither, which was shining brightly. Qin Yin was sitting at the side, but she was not in the mood to play the zither. Lin Muyu was dressed in a white imperial guard armor. Looking at the falling snow outside the pavilion, she couldn't help but shiver. She said, "It seems that the weather has turned cold again." "It's not that the weather has turned cold, but that we have become weaker," Qin Yin said with a faint smile. "Someone, bring a robe for Brother Yu." "Yes, Your Highness." A palace maid turned and left. Tang Xiaoxi sat on the railing of the pavilion, and the power of the Law of Flames was circulating in her palm. She blinked her bright eyes and said, "In just one day, I have lost another 10% of my divine power. I'm afraid that my cultivation will become that of a mortal in 7 days." Lin Muyu walked forward and reached out to brush the falling snow off her shoulder. She said, "Me too. My power is disappearing like a gushing river." "This is the punishment of the gods by the heavens," Qin Yin said. "Once we become mortals, I'm afraid that the attack of the celestial pole land will come. Don't worry. We will deal with it when it comes. Our defense along the coastline can be said to be impregnable." Lin Muyu took a deep breath. "Yesterday, I have already ordered Torch Dragon to bring 30,000 naval troops to the East Sea to ambush and wait for my orders. In this battle, we will only fight with Xianxia on the sea. We must eliminate more than half of Xianxia's military forces in one battle." "Yes." Qin Yin smiled sweetly. With brother Yu around, I don't have to worry too much. Rustle, rustle. Amidst the sound of footsteps, Feng Jixing, dressed in a white robe, came treading on the snow. He knelt down respectfully. Greetings, Your Highness. General Feng, please rise. What's the matter? Yes. Feng Jixing said in a low voice, the snow has been falling intermittently for nearly a month. All the major provinces have sent letters requesting for help. In some areas, the snow is as deep as 3 meters, enough to drown anyone, making it impossible to travel. Many of the poor people's cotton-padded clothes are unable to withstand this rare cold, and they have frozen to death at home. Currently, there are poor people frozen to death in all the provinces. At least thousands, at most tens of thousands. Qin Yin's shoulders couldn't help but shiver. She mumbled, "Ask Aunt Lien to draft an imperial edict, ordering the governors of the major provinces to oversee the rescue work. They can use the local armies to assist in the rescue. In the imperial edict, state clearly that the governors who slack in the rescue work will be beheaded without exception." Yes. Feng Jixing cupped his fists and said, "Then this subordinate will go and do it now?" Lin Muyu asked, "Brother Feng, is there anyone who froze to death in Lanyan City?" Yes. Feng Jixing said with some difficulty, according to the statistics from 4 hours ago, more than 300 people froze to death in Lanyan City. Most of them were wanderers, and some of them were commoners who couldn't afford charcoal to keep out the cold. Lin Muyu sighed, "Use the national treasury's resources to save the commoners." But Feng Jixing frowned, "The national treasury's resources are used for war. Are we really going to use it to save the commoners?" Yes. Lin Muyu looked up at the falling snow in the sky and said, "Why is the heavens angry? I think it's because we never care about the commoners' lives. We only covet for hegemony. Whether we win this war or not, we can't let the common people down." Yes, I understand. Feng Jixing nodded and said, Have you tried using divine power to change the temperature and abnormal weather? It's useless. Divine power can't change the weather of Tianfa. I've tried. Sigh, then I'll go and do something. I'll go with you. Okay. In the evening, on Lanyan City's Tongtian Street, a group of imperial soldiers swept the snow on the road with brooms. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing walked side by side in front of the group. Behind them were carts filled with charcoal. Zetian Palace took out their reserves and distributed charcoal and all kinds of living necessities to the commoners on Tongtian Street. As they walked, there was a sudden boom. Not far away, a wooden house collapsed, followed by heart-wrenching cries. The snow was so thick that many houses collapsed under the weight of it. Lin Muyu took a big stride forward and used her divine power to lift up the collapsed house. She saw a mother and son curled up in the corner of the house, shivering. "Come out quickly," Lin Muyu said. The mother was shocked and ran out with her son in her arms. Then she knelt on the ground and kowtowed. "Thank you, my lady, thank you for saving our lives, you're welcome." Lin Muyu helped them up. Seeing that the house was no longer livable, she looked at Feng Jixing. "Brother Feng, is there an emergency refugee camp?" "There is, but it's already full of refugees." Feng Jixing was helpless. "Forget it. Someone, send this mother and son to the Imperial Army's camp. Order the brothers to take out spare tents and build a few refugee camps in the Imperial Army's camp. Provide them with food every day." "Yes, Commander." Guan Xing was dressed in a white robe. He cupped his fists and said, "Commander, how many refugees do we need? I'll make the arrangements. How many tents do we have? How much can we afford?" If the Imperial Army's rations are reduced by 30% every day, we can save about 20,000 refugees. There should be enough tents. Then go and do it. Feng Jixing waved his hand and said, "Saving people is more important. Go and do it immediately." Yes. Guan Xing spurred his horse and left. Lin Muyu nodded. Looking at the thickening snow on the ground, she said in a low voice, Wei Chou. Lin General, I'm here. Please give me your orders. Like the Imperial Army, Longdan Army Camp should also take out our spare supplies and build refugee camps on the empty land in the south and north of the city. Remember, send people to clean every day. We can't let the refugee camps collapse. Yes, I'll do it right now. Wei Chou carried the Hui Bao and got on his horse. Longdan Army Camp is the Empire's main force in the future war against the Celestial Pole continent. Are you going to reduce the rations of the Longdan Army Camp? Feng Jixing asked with a smile. Lin Muyu smiled bitterly and shrugged. What can I do? Just like what you said, saving people is more important. We will no longer be gods. Since we are mortals, we should put our conscience first. Say, what is the meaning of heavenly punishment? Why do bad gods and good gods lose their power? Feng Jixing looked up at the sky and said, I don't think I've done anything that goes against my conscience other than war. However, my strength is also rapidly depleting. It's going to be difficult to even kill a chicken soon. What's going on? I don't know either. Perhaps, heavenly punishment is to punish all gods. Let's go and continue to send charcoal and clothes. Yes. Further ahead, there were corpses lying on the snowy ground. Some of the corpses were wearing very thin clothes. They were frozen to death, and their skin was covered with a layer of frost. Even when they died, the place where their corpses were placed occupied the streets. In the distance, a group of homeless people ran over. They frantically stripped the clothes of the dead and put them on themselves. All of them were shivering in the cold. Damn it, they're even robbing the clothes of the dead? Zhang Wei shouted angrily. His palm was already on the hilt of his saber. Lin Muyu hurriedly raised her hand. Old Zhang, don't do it. They have no choice. If they don't rob the clothes of the dead, they will be the next corpse. Someone, give each of these homeless people a coat. Yes, Lin General. Intimidated by the dignity of a soldier, the homeless people obediently took a coat and disappeared into the street corner. Do you know how much a coat like this can sell for? Feng Jixing asked. I don't know. 3 Jinin coins. Oh my god, so expensive? Yes. Feng Jixing said meaningfully, if I'm not wrong, these tramps will sell their cotton-padded clothes. Who knows which tavern they'll be drinking hard liquor and cuddling with girls tonight. Actually, letting these people freeze to death might not be a bad thing. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. Damn, you have this kind of thinking. The heavenly punishment will punish you first. No wonder your power is depleting faster than mine. Feng Jixing laughed. I'm not happy when you say that. My way of thinking has nothing to do with kindness. I'm just more rational. I can't be a goody two-shoes. No matter what, it's a life. As long as they don't harm the heavens, we can't decide their fate. Brat, you seem to have improved. Of course. But I'm still punished by the heavenly punishment. When you return to the holy heaven state, I'll fight it out with you. Ha ha ha. Damn. Suddenly, Feng Jixing bumped his shoulder and pointed ahead. Look, we're at the spiritual medicine department. Isn't that Yao? Oh. Lin Muyu looked over, and sure enough, there were dozens of tents set up in front of the spirit medicine department, as well as a special tent for treating injuries. The staff of the spirit medicine department were busy delivering food and drink, and one of the beautiful figures taking the pulse was Chu Yao. Big Sister Chu Yao. Lin Muyu called from afar with a bright smile. Chu Yao's entire body trembled. She turned around and saw that it was Lin Muyu. She immediately lifted her skirt and walked over in a few steps. She opened her arms and hugged him, smiling extremely sweetly. Stinking brat, you're finally back. Yes, I've been busy all day and didn't come to see you. I can't believe we met here. It's really fate. Chu Yao glared at him. You heartless brat. You won't come to see me even if I don't come to see you? Are you guys delivering supplies? Yes, we're transferring some military supplies from the National Treasury for emergency purposes. That's right. Those stingy fellows in the Ministry of Revenue can't even bear to take out supplies to help the victims. I'm thinking of reporting them to Shao Yin. No need to report them. We'll deal with them later. Good, good, good. How long will you be back at Shattered Cauldron Realm? I'm afraid it will be a long time. There's going to be a war soon. Ah, another war? Chu Yao was a little unhappy. As the great deacon of the spiritual medicine department, she was responsible for saving lives and healing the wounded. Naturally, she didn't want to see a war. There's no other way. If we don't fight, others will come and fight us. We can only fight to stop the war. Lin Muyu pulled Chu Yao's hand and said with a smile, "Come back to Zetian Palace with me after you're done. Let's have a meal together as a family. There's still wine and meat in Zetian Palace." Yes. Chu Yao's heart warmed, and her smile became even sweeter. It was as if her wait hadn't been in vain. Chapter 1121. West Mountain Province, West Sea Port. Heavy snow fluttered all over the sky. The port was noisy. On the shore of the port, a group of people riding on war horses were watching the work of the icebreakers in the shallow waters from afar. The group of people were wearing the high-ranking military ranks of the empire. They were clustered around a beautiful girl. She was Si Kongming's granddaughter, Si Kongyao. Cough cough, Lu Bai coughed violently. The weather suddenly turned cold. He started to cough and his voice became slightly hoarse. The seawater in the shallow waters has already started to freeze. If this snow continues, I'm afraid the entire West Sea will be frozen into a huge ice cube. Yao, we need to make early preparations. I know. Si Kongyao's eyes were as clear as water. She said, Brother Yu has already sent a letter to urge me to immediately lead the Baizhe mercenaries back to the Shattered Cauldron Realm. Oh. Lin General has already issued the order? Yes, but I have to wait for the last batch of supplies to be sent away. These 300 merchant ships are filled with cotton-padded clothes and coal. They are extremely important military supplies. If they can be sent to the Shattered Cauldron Realm, it will be enough for 300,000 soldiers to have a warm winter. Oh. Lu Bai's eyes flickered with hesitation. He said, Yao, actually, I'm very worried that Emperor Shang will immediately send troops to attack us. I heard, the Tianji sect's headquarters in Tianji City has already been heavily surrounded by Emperor Shang's army. Your grandfather, Si Kongming, Si Kongyao smiled faintly. Don't worry about grandfather. He has already informed me. 3 days later, grandfather will use the last of his divine power to return to the sky beyond heaven. He will also help me delay Yangshang for another 3 days. In this way, we will be able to send away all these supplies. Yes, that's good. But we only have 1,000 warships. It's impossible to transport 300,000 soldiers, countless warhorses, and weapons. What should we do? Your brain is really not working well. Si Kongyao glared at him and said, Older brother, you had already considered this point in Yu Yu's letter. He told me that if I am unable to transport all the troops to Broken Cauldron Jia, the remaining soldiers should immediately take off their military uniforms and weapons, change into commoners' clothes and blend in with the commoners. When the Qin Empire's troops arrive, then summon them again. Lin General is indeed far-sighted, Lu Bai grinned and said, then I'll pass down the order. We'll start gathering in 3 days. Yes. Also, inform the Fire Element City to let the demon monarch Nushi lead the demon race back to the Forest of No Return. Once we leave, Yangshang and Dora's group will definitely not let the demon race off. Furthermore, it is snowing heavily now, and there is no way to prevent fire in the forest. No one can do anything to the demon race. Yes, I got it. Liu Bai reached into his bosom and took out a purple insignia. He kissed it and smiled warmly. Although I already knew that I'm a soldier of the Qin Empire, I'm really looking forward to going to the place that I've never been to for a long time. Si Kongyao couldn't help but smile. Isn't it great to know who you're fighting for? Yes, we're like children abandoned in the celestial pole continent. We're only fighting for our beliefs. How I wish to return to the embrace of the Qin Empire and see the people's respectful gazes, the Empress's praise for us, and Lin General's affirmation of our Bai Corps. If that's the case, even if I die in battle, it's worth it, he he he. Si Kongyao just laughed lightly. Why are you laughing? Liu Bai asked. Si Kongyao looked at the sea through the curtain of snow and said, Bai, you're becoming more and more like a soldier. Your hooligan habits are almost gone. It's Lin General. He changed me. Yes, Big Brother Yu is such a person. He can easily use his charm to influence and change others. I think there must be many people in the Qin Empire who are following him because of this, right? Yes, there must be many. They're all our brothers. Si Kongyao's mouth twitched. She raised her hand and tightened the belt of her leather robe. Her face was slightly pale. She said, It's so cold. The speed at which the divine power is depleting is far faster than we expected. Let's go back to the port. You must immediately issue the military order. We'll start gathering tomorrow and break the ice of the port. The first batch of troops must leave tomorrow. Yes, I understand. Please rest assured, Your Highness. In Lanyan City, the entire Zetian Palace Hall was almost completely covered in snow. On the roof, the Imperial Guards were sweeping the snow on the bricks and tiles. Groups of attendants were pushing carts to transport the snow out of the palace. No matter what, they couldn't let the palace where the Empress lived be submerged by the heavy snow. This was also an order from Feng Jixing. In the rear palace hall, a burst of warmth rose. The banquet was simple but not simple. In the center was a pot of lamb that was being cooked. Surrounding it were 12 imperial dishes. The chefs of Zetian Palace Hall had changed batch after batch, but only the imperial chefs who cooked these dishes were still around. From the era of Qin Jin to the era of the Empress, they had always been loyal to Zetian Palace Hall. There weren't many people attending the banquet, but everyone was one of them. In addition to Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi, there were also Feng Jixing, Chu Yao, and Su Yu. A total of 6 people sat around a big table, giving off the feeling of a happy and harmonious family. In fact, Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu were as close as brothers. Chu Yao was Lin Muyu's older sister, and Su Yu was Qin Yin's younger aunt. Originally, they could be considered as a big family. The chief female official, Shengguan Jingyue, stood respectfully at the side and said, All the dishes have been served. Do you have any other instructions, Your Highness? Nothing. Qin Yin smiled gently and said, Jingyue, go and have your meal. You don't have to accompany me here. I have already ordered the imperial chefs to make your favorite codfish soup. Oh, really? In that case, Jingyue thanks Your Highness. In that case, shall I take my leave? Go ahead, go ahead. Qin Yin waved her hand and said to the group of palace maids, All of you may leave as well. You don't have to accompany me here. Our family wants to have a good meal. The palace maids knelt down and said, We shall take our leave. After the palace maids left, they were replaced by more than a dozen imperial guards with high cultivation levels. From the inside, one could faintly see the reflection of their lofty figures in the window. The temperature of the Yin flower brew is just right. Enjoy it. Qin Yin stood up, picked up the wine pot, and poured wine for Lin Muyu, Su Yu, and Feng Jixing. It was rare for the empress to personally pour wine. Feng Jixing was a little uneasy and said, "Your Highness, this is absolutely unacceptable. After all, there is a difference in status, and I can't." "General Feng, don't say that. There are no outsiders here." As Qi Nin poured wine, she smiled and said, "You are Yu's big brother, and Yu is Xiao Yin's husband. You are originally a family, and it is within Xiao Yin's duty to pour wine for you." But Feng Jixing still couldn't accept it. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, "General Feng, when you are free, you should really go to Mu's hometown. Over there, everyone is considered equal, and there are no restrictions between officials and commoners." "Of course, that is how it seems. Can everyone really be equal?" Feng Jixing was stunned. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile and said, "Actually, it isn't really equal, but equality is the ideal life that everyone pursues." All right, Brother Feng, we are all gods, and there is no need to be so restrained. Xiao Yin is destined to leave Shattered Tripod Realm in the future. Do you still expect her to bear the weight of the Shattered Tripod Realm's crown for the rest of her life? That's not it. Feng Jixing was a little embarrassed. Then, he raised his eyebrows and said, "Actually, don't I want to go to Yu's hometown to take a look? I have long heard from him that there are many hot girls there, and they are very suitable for a handsome man like me. Look at me, I am in my 30s or 40s, unmarried. I don't even have a bed warmer every day. I want to hire a few girls to warm my bed for a fee, and I am also restricted by the Empire's military law. It is really hard for me." Qin Yin returned to Lin Muyu's side and sat down. She giggled and said, "You are really not serious. If you, General Feng, were to seriously date girls, I don't believe that none of the girls in Lanyan City would like you." "Forget it, the girls in Lanyan City are not suitable for me," Feng Jixing said with a frown. "Why? Your Highness, most of them know me and have seen me before. They know that my family is rich. I have been the commander of the Imperial Guards for so many years, and I have earned quite a lot. I guess they are interested in me because of my money." "Then how much have you earned in private?" Qin Yin asked with a smile. Feng Jixing was stunned. "Damn, I spilled the beans. Your Highness Yin, you are actually trying to get information out of me, Haze. It is all a scheme, what sister-in-law?" Qin Yin burst into laughter again. "What are you talking about? I didn't say that I'm going to hold you accountable. Besides, you're in charge of the entire Empire's gold mines, magic crystal mines, and so on. It's not easy for you to be greedy. If you're really that greedy, I'm afraid you don't need to stay in the Imperial Army camp anymore. I just like living in the camp, it isn't that noisy." Feng Jixing grinned and explained. At the side, Lin Muyu was really clear about what kind of person Feng Jixing was. Since the 30,000 soldiers in Fire Badger Valley were killed, this guilt was something he couldn't forget. Feng Jixing wanted to protect the Imperial Guard's army and protect everyone in the army. The aura of a soldier was imprinted in his bones and couldn't be washed away. This was why he would rather live in the camp than buy a mansion and live a luxurious life with a bunch of wives and concubines. Let's not talk so much, it isn't easy for a family to be together. Let's toast. Lin Muyu raised her cup and helped Feng Jixing get out of the awkward atmosphere. Okay, cheers. He drank it all in one gulp and his throat was filled with the fragrance of the flowers. The wine was really mellow and soft, it was a taste that the white wine on earth didn't have. Su Yu placed down her cup and smiled. "Xiao Yin, Xiao Shi, what did you two get from earth? Is father-in-law satisfied with your two beautiful daughters-in-law?" He is satisfied, he is satisfied." Tang Xiaoxi smiled. Qin Yin said, "Aunt Luan, I will let you see Xiao Shi and my treasures. We found many really nice clothes on earth, N. You are Aunt Luan, so I will allow you to choose one from my collection. Consider it a gift from Xiao Yin. Oh, is that so? Right, Sister Chu Yao too, I will give you one. I have one too. Chu Yao smiled, okay, you that heartless kid doesn't even remember me. It is rare that Xiao Yin is so thoughtful. Lin Muyu pursed her lips. If there's a chance in the future, Sister Chu Yao, you should come with me to Earth. I'll buy you a store. Oh no. I'll buy 10 for you to manage. Is that so? Then it is a deal. It is a deal. Chapter 1122. 3 days later, at the archery range of the Zhe Tian Palace. Bang bang bang, gunshots rang out. It was the firing of a submachine gun. Oh my. Feng Jixing released the slightly hot muzzle and said, the lethality of this thing is much stronger than bows and arrows. It can penetrate steel plates from 500 steps away. This also means that it can deal damage to cavalry from a mile away. That's right. Lin Muyu also held a submachine gun in her hand and said, there are a total of 10,000 of these guns. I got them from the former Minister of Defense in my hometown. Oh? What's a Minister of Defense? It's a military position, equivalent to the Grand Marshal of the Three Armies. I see. Feng Jixing smiled and said, we relied on the magic crystal cannons in the previous battles, but it was very troublesome to move the cannons, and accuracy was also a problem. As for small-scale attacks, we relied on the magic crystal crossbows, but they were even more lacking. The shooting range was only a short 100 steps, and it was very easy to cause damage to our own people. When the two armies charged, they could disrupt the enemy's formation, but the aftershock of the explosion could also burn the skin of our own people. As a result, after every charge, the soldiers would be like roasted sweet potatoes that were taken out of the oven. Needless to say, it was very miserable. What's the name of this weapon? Type 95 assault rifle. It's a mouthful, why don't you give it a new name? Sure, Big Brother Feng, you can come and take it. Feng Jixing thought for a moment and said, how about the armor-piercing bow? Isn't this name domineering enough? This thing's shooting range is much longer than the crossbow, and it can penetrate light armor. Why don't we call it the armor-piercing bow? Lin Muyu had a helpless look on her face as she brushed the snow off her shoulder, as long as you like it. It's obviously a gun, but in your mouth, it became a whisper. There's no one else like you. Feng Jixing laughed and said, as long as you're happy. It doesn't matter what they're called. I plan to equip these 10,000 armor-piercing bows on the heavy cavalry. When the two armies charge, they will be able to attack the enemy with the greatest range. That way, even if they encounter the enemy's spear formation, they will be able to easily break through. Alright, leave 5,000 of them for the Longdan army camp. Do as you see fit with the rest. Alright. On the side, Wei Chou was already proficient in using the armor-piercing bow. He waved the rifle in his hand and shook his head. Sigh, the accuracy is not as good as my bow and arrows, that's. Lin Muyu said, you can pierce through a willow tree 500 paces away, your arms are naturally strong, and you have a divine artifact like the Hoi bow. Naturally, you don't need this. Speaking of which, Wei Chou, once the battle begins, you will be our absolute main force. Do you know that? Lin General, I. Wei Chou was a little embarrassed. I'm afraid I won't be able to help. After all, there are so many experts in the Dragon League participating in this battle. Who am I? No, you're wrong. The people in the Dragon League are all cultivators. They rely on their divine power and comprehension of the laws. But soon, the laws will disappear, and everyone's power will decline to an unimaginable level. But you, on the other hand, rely on your archery and very rich battle experience. They can't compare to you. Thank you for your praise, Lin General. I will do my best to serve the Empire. Lin Muyu patted Wei Chao's shoulder and hung her submachine gun on the back of the horse. Her eyes drifted to Situ Sen and Situ Shui, and she said, "How is it?" Situ Sen was a little sad. "Late last night, my cultivation regressed to the Holy Heaven realm. It doesn't matter. I also regressed to the Divine King realm." Lin Muyu sighed. "Anyway, it will happen sooner or later." Feng Jixing walked forward and said, "There is a lot of news from the Dragon League. Many people not only regress to the Holy Heaven realm, but also to the Holy King realm and even the Holy Venerate realm. I suspect that in a few days, there will be people in the Divine realm regressing to the Heavenly realm. It's really tragic." Lin Muyu nodded slightly. "The heavenly punishment has already arrived. Everyone will regress, but those with strong cultivation will regress a little less. But in the end, they will all lose their divine power. This is for sure. The key to victory in the battle between us and the celestial pole continent depends on the magic crystal cannons and magic crystal crossbows. In this aspect, we have an advantage. Yes, but when it comes to dragons, we don't have any advantage." Feng Jixing's eyes were cold. "There are at least 1,000 dragons in the 3 empires of the celestial pole continent. Yang Shang has already ordered the formation of the Shang Army's Dragon Cavalry Regiment. This Dragon Cavalry Regiment will be unprecedented. It's easy to imagine how terrifying a Dragon Cavalry Regiment made up of more than 1,000 Dragon Knights will be. And it just so happens that we will all become mortals and have to deal with these Dragon Knights. Do we have a lot of god-slaying cannons?" Lin Muyu asked. Feng Jixing shook his head. "The god-slaying cannons have too high of a requirement for materials. They can't really be mass-produced. There are less than 20 god-slaying cannons in the entire army. Moreover, the god-slaying cannons can't deal with dragon knights at all. After all, their opponents have regressed to mortals. Damn. We're in big trouble." Lin Muyu took a deep breath. Feng Jixing's eyes shone as he said, "In our entire empire, even if we include the 200,000 Baizhe mercenaries that Si Kongyao brought back, we only have a total of 1 million soldiers. But Yang Shang is different. All the armies of the celestial pole continent have been unified by him. His military strength is more than 2.5 million. Moreover, hidden tribes like the Wolf Valley and the Thunder Spirit tribe have also been summoned by Yang Shang to participate in the war. Be it the number of troops or cultivators, we don't have any advantage. Looks like if we can't defeat Yang Shang's army in the Battle of the East Sea, I'm afraid that Shattered Cauldron Realm will be in danger." Lin Muyu said with a grave expression, "Why are you telling me these figures? You're making me feel so heavy. I really want to quit right now." Feng Jixing was shocked. "Damn, you're the marshal of the empire, and I'm just your deputy. If I don't tell you, who else can I tell? I can't bear all the pressure by myself." Ding Shi smiled without saying anything. "Marshal Ding, what are you laughing at?" Feng Jixing said. Ding Shi waved his hand. "You can fight, so you have the final say." "I won't laugh." Lin Muyu said, "Okay, let's stop joking. Pass down my order. Prepare to set off in 3 days. The main force of the Empire's army will rush to the east coast. Order the provinces and counties along the way to clear the snow on the official roads. In addition, the provisions team can leave first today." "Okay, I've already arranged it." Feng Jixing was worried. Who will stay to guard Lanyan City this time?" Recently, there have been some news from Seven Seas City, Muyu City, and Sunset City. The garrison troops everywhere are anxious and their morale is shaken. I'm worried that there will be unrest in the rear. Aunt Lien and Yen will stay to guard it. Okay. The palace lanterns were warm at night. Tang Xiaoxi sat by the bed with flames circling around her palms. But it was getting weaker and weaker. Finally, she sighed and said, "I've regressed to the hierarch realm, me too." Qin Yin, who was cleaning the Nuwa zither, responded. Creak, Lin Muyu pushed the door open and walked in. He had just finished his inspection of the Longdan army camp. Tang Xiaoxi slid down the bed and swept the snow off Lin Muyu's body. Then, she took off his battle robe and said, Mu, how's the situation outside? Not good. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth and said, although we've thickened the clothes for the soldiers, many of them are still suffering from frostbite. Many of them have frostbite all over their bodies. They can't even hold their weapons properly. I really don't know how to fight this war. The elixir department is running out of medicine. Many of the soldiers can only wait for their frostbite to heal themselves. Qin Yin stepped forward and said, You've worked hard. Quickly take off your cold armor and take a hot bath. Xiao Shi and I have already boiled the water for you. Okay, thank you. Mu, how much has your cultivation level regressed? Tang Xiaoxi asked, 42nd layer Grotto Heaven Divine King. Oh. Qin Yin smiled. Looks like. Brother Yu's cultivation level is much higher than ours. He should be able to maintain his divine heaven realm cultivation level even after heavenly punishment. I hope so. Lin Muyu said worriedly, my cultivation level will probably fall to the mortal realm in 3 days. I don't know how the people in the heaven realm are doing. Brother Demon Emperor and Sister Xiao are really worrying me. It's just that I hate that I can't help them at all. I can only fight in the human realm. This is your duty. Qin Yin's gaze was faint. Demon Emperor said that your duty is to destroy Yangshang's army and eliminate any future troubles. Okay, don't think too much. Go and take a bath. Okay. Lin Muyu glanced at the two beauties and suddenly smiled. Are we still sleeping in separate beds today? Up to you. The rule for the three of them had always been 2 beds. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi slept on one bed, and Lin Muyu slept on the other. If they didn't, they would sleep together. Hearing Qin Yin's words, Lin Muyu started to look forward to it. Putting aside the hatred between the country and the family, hugging the woman he loved and falling into a dream was the only thing worth comforting. Moreover, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were both narrow-minded people. No one was willing to let the other enjoy it alone, so, this was the only way. Late at night, the snow outside the palace was swirling. Inside the palace, there was hot air lingering in the furnace. The quilt was warm, and there was a faint body fragrance. The two hot beauties were shy and pitiful. Their coquettish looks were intoxicating. After an unknown period of time, Lin Muyu fell into a deep sleep. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi lay in the crook of his arms and fell into a deep sleep as well. When it was close to dawn, there was a sudden sound of hurried footsteps outside the palace. Before it got close, Lin Muyu had already been awakened. Huh! Someone is coming. Lin Muyu kissed Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi respectively. He pulled himself out of the embrace of the two octopus-like beauties. He turned around and put on his clothes and armor. He opened the door. Outside, the snow was still falling. A person rushed out of the curtain of snow. It was Wei Chou. He saw that Lin Muyu had already come to greet him. He immediately said, Lin General, something happened. What's wrong? Don't worry, tell me slowly. 2 hours ago, our grain transport team was robbed 20 li outside the city. The entire team was robbed of all their grain. Who robbed the grain? It was said that the local people were starving and cold. Have you informed Brother Feng? He has already gone over. Okay, we will go over now. Yes. Chapter 1123. 20 li outside the city was not far. Lin Muyu carried Wei Chou and flew through the wind and snow. The sky was not yet bright, and the north wind was whistling, sharp as a knife. On the official road from Lanyan City to Cangnan Province, a group of imperial guards was already there. Feng Jixing had arrived earlier. After all, his imperial guard camp was closer, and he lived alone without any worries. Torches danced wildly in the wind. A convoy was parked by the side of the road, and clumsy steam cars were used to transport war supplies. Lin Muyu landed in the air, and the surrounding soldiers saluted. "Greetings, Lin General." "Big Brother Feng, what's going on?" Lin Muyu asked. Feng Jixing used his hand to block the wind and snow, then turned around and pointed to the official road, saying, "Someone deliberately used stones to block the official road." 3 carriages were overturned, and more than a dozen of the accompanying cavalry were killed. For the time being, it has been confirmed that the nearby starving refugees have gathered to plunder the military rations. Zhang Wei has already led the guards to capture the instigator. On the side, Guan Xing respectfully said, "The weather is cold, and the people without surplus food will indeed gather together. Under the pressure of hunger, they will become rioters. I hope that Lin General will not start a massacre. After all, these are human lives, I know, but even if they are starving, they can't plunder the imperial rations. These are resources used to protect the country." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "I don't need to use the death penalty, but the imperial constitution is waiting for them. How they should be punished will be left to the people of the Congress." "Big Brother Feng, where did Zhang Wei and his men go to capture people?" "In a village 5 li away." "Do you want to go as well?" "Yes, I'll go and have a look." Lin Muyu looked coldly at the supply vehicles parked in the wind and snow, saying, "Wei Chou, you stay here. Take some people to move the boulders and keep the road clear. The rations must be unimpeded, otherwise everyone will have to fight on an empty stomach." "Yes, Lin General." Lin Muyu took the reins from a Longdan army camp soldier and mounted the unfamiliar warhorse. Then, she and Feng Jixing led dozens of cavalrymen away from the official road and galloped into the forest trail. The place had not been cleaned for a long time, so the snow was about half a meter deep. The speed of the warhorses was greatly affected. When a small village came into view, the sky was already bright, but the sun could not be seen. Although the snow had lessened, it still had not stopped. Lin Muyu looked at the houses on both sides of the road as they walked slowly along the village road. Most of them were thatched huts, and the houses had almost collapsed under the heavy snow. There were frozen corpses on the side of the road, and she could faintly see the hoof prints of horses in the snow. They were probably left behind by Zhang Wei and the others. In the center of the village, Zhang Wei was found. The deputy commander of the imperial army was holding a steel knife in his hand. He had already ordered nearly 50 civilians to be tied up and tied to a rope. "Greetings, Lin General, greetings, General Feng." Zhang Wei got off the horse and saluted. "No need to be so polite." Lin Muyu raised her hand and said, "Old Zhang, get up. How's the situation?" "Reporting to Marshal Lin, we have basically captured all of them and they all confessed. Among them, the village chief was the one who led the killings. Our cavalry captain, who was in charge of transportation, was stabbed to death by him with a pitchfork." "Humph." Lin Muyu got off the horse and walked in front of the village chief, who was about 40 years old. She saw that his eyes were staring at her. It was not reverence, but hatred. "It's fine if you rob the rations, but why did you have to kill people?" Lin Muyu asked. The village chief's eyes were cold. "If we don't kill them, they will kill us. Even so, do you really think what you did was right? In order to live, there's nothing right or wrong about it. Since I'm going to die anyway, I might as well give it my all." A fierce light appeared in the village chief's eyes. "It seems that you have a high position. Who are you?" "Lin Muyu." "Ah. It's Lin General. It's the Empire's Marshal Lin Muyu." A group of villagers whose hands were tied revealed expressions of shock. However, the village chief's expression was still very fierce. He sneered and said, "The Empire's Marshal? In my opinion, you're just a guard dog. Impudent. Zhang Wei raised his steel knife and said, "You don't want to live anymore?" Lin Muyu raised her hand. "Don't do anything. Let him finish." The village chief sneered and said, "The heavy snow has been going on for over a month. How many people in North Ridge province have starved to death? However, how many of you officials have opened the granaries to release the rations? Look, the rations on the cart are enough to save many people. Yet, you guys used the rations to fight a war. You would rather the people of the empire starve to death than save them. Instead, you took the rations to fight a war. Other than fighting a war, what else do you, Lin Muyu, know?" Lin Muyu frowned and didn't refute. Feng Jixing raised his eyebrows. "So, this is the reason for you to rob the rations and kill people?" The village chief laughed heartily. "That's right, this is my reason. Our emperor, our empress, would rather use these rations to go to war and disregard the lives of her people. Is this kind of empress still worthy of the loyalty of the people of the world?" Lin Muyu said indifferently, "You can scold me, but don't blaspheme Her Highness. Otherwise, no one can save you." Many days ago, Her Highness had already issued an imperial edict to all the officials in the provinces to release rations to help the people. I have seen this imperial edict with my own eyes. Why don't you go to the prefectural city to ask for help? Help? The village chief laughed. Those officials only know how to enjoy themselves. Who would really help us commoners? Moreover, how much rations can the local officials have? How can they save so many commoners? However, if you guys don't fight a war and let the commoners survive this winter, you will save the commoners of the world. This is what a wise ruler should do. Feng Jixing's gaze was grave and stern. Holding on to the hilt of the red phoenix knife, he simply wanted to chop the person in front of him. However, Lin Muyu remained patient and said, "Do you think that this harsh winter will only last for 3 months? Do you think that if we don't fight with the kingdom of Shang, they won't attack us? It has only been a few years since the massacre in Lingang province and you guys have already forgotten about it? Our opponents are jackals and wolves. I have to let the soldiers eat their fill before we can face the strong enemy. I don't listen to these great principles." The village chief scolded impatiently. "I only know that I want to rebel if I can't eat my fill. People like you only care about prestige and status. You only want the world and the rivers and mountains. You don't care about the lives of us commoners. Don't be hypocritical. If you want to kill or torture us, do as you please." Clang. Lin Muyu didn't say another word. The Xianyuan sword was already in her hand and the ice-cold blade was pointed straight at the village chief's neck. The coldness from the blade had already caused the village chief's neck to stiffen. A boundless fear instantly spread throughout his body. Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you?" Lin Muyu's voice was extremely calm. "That's right. With my power and status, I can indeed see you as an ant in my eyes. But I don't. I'm willing to lower my stance and speak to you as an equal. Why are you so overbearing? You keep saying that you're talking about the common people, but what you're saying is just your own selfish desires. You can't represent the common people of the world, you can only represent yourself. Your crimes will be judged by the Empire's constitution, and I'm just a law enforcer. I won't override the constitution, and you can't override the constitution either." With that, Lin Muyu seemed to be a little tired. She sheathed her sword and said, "Zhang Wei, take them to Fire Finch. After questioning them, hand them over to the parliament to deal with." "Yes, Lin General." Feng Jixing walked forward and lightly patted Lin Muyu's shoulder. Don't be angry with yourself." "I'm not." Lin Muyu's clear eyes looked at the footprints in the snow. "After so many years, how many times have I not been understood? I've long gotten used to it. What he said makes sense. War is indeed built on trampling on humanity and equality. At this moment, the village chief, whose hands were tied, suddenly stopped. He turned around and shouted, "Lin Muyu. Do you really have to go to war? Do you know how many people will die? If you insist on going your own way, then you're just an executioner, a murderous demon king. You're not a famous general, nor are you a meritorious minister. You're just an executioner." Lin Muyu's eyes turned red. "You don't have to worry about that. What kind of person I am will naturally be judged by history and future generations. Zhang Wei, take them away, immediately." "Yes, Lin General." Zhang Wei spurred his horse and galloped away, dragging the village chief along. Feng Jixing pressed his hand on the hilt of his knife and blew away the falling snow on his eyelashes. Do you want to get rid of this fly on the way?" "No." Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. "Brother Feng, your bureaucratic style is quite serious." "Is it?" Feng Jixing grinned. "I'm the commander of the Imperial Guards and command 100,000 soldiers. I'm also the Empire's deputy marshal. I hold great power in my hands. Shouldn't people live freely and seek revenge? Those who submit to me prosper and those who oppose me perish. Just like that brat just now, he would have died 100 million times in other novels." Lin Muyu had a look of disdain. "The Congress was established with our consent, and the order was also set by us. Since we set the rules, we should properly abide by them. Otherwise, we'll really become big bad people. As for what this person said, I don't care at all. There are too many things he doesn't know, which is why he's talking like this." "Oh? What do you mean?" "For example, unifying the Shattered Cauldron Realm and the Celestial Pole Continent and letting the two continents enter into peaceful rule is something he can't do. Therefore, he doesn't want others to do it. Some things have to be done by someone. His heart is only left with jealousy and hatred. This is the mentality of a vile person. Why should I bother with him?" Feng Jixing couldn't help but laugh. Your state of mind is indeed not something an ordinary person can compare to. Look at how radiant you are. Is it because, last night, f***ck, what do you mean by he? You know what I mean. I'm not going to argue with you anymore. Let's go back to the imperial capital and continue to urge the various prefectures and counties to release grain for disaster relief. I don't believe that the old masters will really disregard the lives of the people and continue to stockpile grain. Yes, we do need to send special envoys to various places." Chapter 11:24. Dark clouds were rolling in the sky, and black storms were like demonic arms that could prop up the heavens and earth. Countless lightning bolts were flashing within, and under the dark clouds was a continuous snowfall. Everything was withering, and the remaining spiritual chi in the Shattered Cauldron Realm and the Celestial Pole Continent had finally disappeared. The heavenly punishment came so quickly that it exceeded everyone's expectations. The earth became even colder. The Shattered Cauldron Realm was still okay, but the Celestial Pole Continent was already filled with starving people. However, Yangshang didn't order for disaster relief. Instead, he exploited the food even more intensely. He needed more food to destroy the Shattered Cauldron Realm. Since he couldn't return to the Heaven Realm, he could only destroy the Shattered Cauldron Realm and become the king of the mortal world. The afternoon in Zetian Palace was also gloomy. The palace maids all lit up the candles. The palace lanterns glowed faintly, illuminating the spacious palace hall. Inside the palace hall, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, Feng Jixing, and the others were all there. At the same time, some leaders of the Dragon League were also there. Everyone's face was full of loneliness and sorrow. After cultivating for so many years, they had all become mortals. No one knew if their lifespan would disappear along with them. Lin Muyu clenched her fists. Strands of golden light started to dissipate around her fists. Nangong Li's eyes turned cold. Lin General's divine power has completely dissipated. The last god on this continent has also disappeared. Feng Zhanlin, Machi Lin, and the others were all desolate. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. She sensed that the divine power in her EC had completely dissipated. Her supreme being lattice had also lost its luster and turned into a plain stone. The Godhead has turned into stone. The heavenly punishment has finally come. He said softly. He wasn't surprised. After all, this day would come sooner or later. He looked up at everyone and said, "How far has everyone's cultivation fallen?" Feng Zhanlin said, "I'm ashamed. I've already fallen to the Holy King realm." Machi Lin, Nangong Li, and the others also nodded. Us too. What about Big Brother Feng? I'm also in the Holy King realm. Feng Jixing said, "It's like my power has been sucked dry in an instant. It's very difficult to use the power of law." Lin Muyu looked at the two ancestors of sorcerer, Emperor Jiang and Chang Liang, and asked, "Where are the two seniors?" Dijiang said, "Early saintly sky realm." Chang Liang nodded. "Me too." Lin Muyu sighed, "Even the two seniors are like this." Qin Yin said, "Big brother Yu, Shao Shi and I are also at the early stage of the divine heaven realm." Lin Muyu was pleased, and said, "It seems that I'm the only one at the peak of the divine heaven realm." Huh? Ouyang Yen was stunned. "You are at the peak of the saint heaven realm?" Emperor Jiang smiled. Lin General's cultivation is above ours, and he has the protection of the sovereign personality and the outer heaven mystic spell, so it's expected that he can maintain his peak saintly sky realm strength. This is a good thing for us. Lin Muyu said, "In fact, he's still immortal, so there's not much difference." Feng Zhanlin, tell me about the current situation of the Dragon League. How far has everyone's cultivation fallen? Feng Zhanlin cupped his fists. Reporting to Lin General, there are 3 saintly sky realm cultivators, the 3 ancestors of sorcerer, around 200 holy king realm cultivators, over 4,000 holy venerables, and most of the rest are heavenly realm cultivators. There are also some with weak foundations that have fallen to the earth realm. My god, earth realm cultivation, how weak is that? Lin Muyu almost laughed out loud. Nangong Li said, "It's okay. Even if our strength has fallen so much, we're not afraid of that boy Yangshang. At most, we'll fight to the death. Humans only have one life, and grass only has one autumn. How can we let others bully us? Then let's fight as mortals." Lin Muyu cleared her throat and said, "All members of the Dragon League will be organized into an army under my command. Once the war breaks out, from today on, train your mounts to charge and form battle formations. No matter what kind of gods you used to be, from today on, you must treat yourselves as warriors of the Empire and obey orders. You are my trump card, and I'll use you when I need you the most." "Yes, Lin General." Feng Zhanlin, Nangong Li, Machi Lin, and Murong Tianqing all nodded. At night, the candlelight was cold, and the cold wind blew through the gaps in the walls, sounding like the howling of wolves. The inside of the hall was not as warm, and even Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were wrapped in thick leather robes, shivering. Lin Muyu put a bowl of chicken soup on the table and clapped her hands. "My wives, it's time to eat." The 2 beauties stood up and sat down. Qin Yin took the initiative to share the soup, and after she filled the bowl, she couldn't help but be moved. "Big brother Yu. What's wrong, Shao Yin?" Qin Yin's eyes were clear like water, and there was some uneasiness in them. "We have the palace walls to block the wind, and the hall to block the rain, but what about the commoners? We can drink this delicious soup, but the poor people might be starving, and their families are crowded together to resist the cold, but I, the Empress, can't do anything." "Who said you can't do anything?" Lin Muyu held her little hand and asked her to sit down, saying gently, "Shao Yin, you approved so many documents during the day, and almost all of them were disaster relief edicts from the prefectures. Do you know how many people you can get after you sign your name and stamp your imperial seal? It's not that you didn't do anything, but you did very well. As for disaster relief and war, there's me, Big Brother Feng, and Aunt Lien. You can't handle so much alone. Is that so? Qin Yin asked. Don't think so much. Eat your fill first. We are already mortals, and we will feel cold and hungry. We are no longer gods. Tang Xiaoxi also said, Shao Yin, this is heaven's punishment, and it's a disaster that humans can't stop. We just have to do our best, and you don't have to blame yourself. Qin Yin nodded. The day after tomorrow, we will set off for the expedition. I plan to pay my respects to my father tomorrow, a simple one. I will go with you, Lin Muyu said. Okay. It was a tough night. Spending the cold night as a mortal again, Lin Muyu couldn't sleep at all. It wasn't that he didn't want to sleep, but he couldn't. The people's livelihood, the war, the resources, the tactics, and the conflicts, almost every detail made it hard for him to sleep. The next day, the snow was lighter, but it was still falling. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi led dozens of imperial guards to the National Monument Forest. The heavy snow had almost covered up the names on the nation-guarding monument. Qin Jin's tombstone had been cleaned, but it was still considered clean. The imperial guards had spread warm cushions on the ground so that the Empress, Lin Muyu, and Tang Xiaoxi wouldn't have to kneel on the ice-cold ground. Qin Yin offered incense and held the incense in her hand as she said, Father, Shao Yin is here to see you. How are you over there? I must be. Lin Muyu also lit an incense and said, Your Majesty, we are going to war again. This time, our opponent isn't Iha nation or the demons, but the Yangshan army of the celestial pole continent. Their military strength is much stronger than ours, but it doesn't matter. They seem to be united, but we will definitely win. Your Majesty, please bless us with victory. Tang Xiaoxi offered incense, moved her little mouth, and said, In fact, there's nothing to say. Your Majesty, I'm Xiaoxi. Shao Yin and I married Mumu together. We will love and respect each other forever. Don't be angry. Besides, even if you are angry, I don't care. Anyway, I love Mumu and Shao Yin. We will be together forever. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. Shao Shi, are you purposely trying to anger father? This kind of thing should be done in secret. Don't tell him. Qin Yin also burst into laughter. Alright, let's be serious. Father is watching us from the sky. Oh, okay. At this moment, the snow seemed to have lessened by a lot, and even the cold wind became much gentler. The group of imperial guards were all very surprised. Could it be that there really was a spiritual connection even though they were separated forever? If that was really the case, then Qin Jin would definitely protect his descendants and bless the Qin Empire to successfully conquer the celestial pole continent, right? After offering incense, Qin Yin placed a few fruits as offerings. Tang Xiaoxi asked, Mu, how do you plan to fight this battle? I still haven't figured out any clues about your battle strategy. I haven't even given out any battle strategy, so of course you can't figure it out. Then what exactly are you planning? Lin Muyu muttered, Actually, the key to this battle is the battle on the East Sea. This battle on the sea will decide the future situation of the war. If we win, we can conveniently spread the flames of war to the celestial pole continent and use the West Mountain province controlled by Yao as a stepping stone to attack the kingdom of Shang. If we lose, we can only return to the Shattered Cauldron realm and use local defense tactics to face the attack of the celestial pole continent. The best outcome would be if we win the battle on the sea and wipe out the main force of the Yangshan Corps. Otherwise, the people of the Shattered Cauldron realm will have to suffer again. They have already suffered enough over the past dozen years. Looks like you already have a plan. Tang Xiaoxi smiled, then I don't have to worry about it. I'll just make coffee with Xiao Yin and read the battle reports every day. Humph, you guys should be like this. Lin Muyu slowly stood up and said, let men handle things like war. Humph, you look down on women. The two girls turned around and glared at him. No, absolutely not. Lin Muyu explained, it's just that war is too cruel and bloody. As a girl, you have to be graceful, don't, stop. Qin Yin was speechless. Xiaoxi and I aren't dirty. Big brother, you, don't say any more, ha ha ha. Lin Muyu reached out to help the two girls lift their cloaks to shield them from the wind and snow. Let's go back and prepare. We'll set off for the Lingdong province tomorrow. Okay. The three of them left the nation-suppressing monument, leaving a trail of footprints on the road. However, it was soon covered by the falling snow. Chapter 1125. Empire Calendar, Year 7743, November 4th, Light Snow. There was no oath-taking ceremony, no departure ceremony. The armies of Yanlan City left one after another, heading towards the East Sea along the routes of Cangnan Province and Lingdong Province. Outside the north gate of Yanlan City, on the mountain ridge where the Eagle Nest camp was located, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi stood on a high rock, looking at the endless stream of flags flying into the distance. The weather today was not bad, with light snow drifting in the air and thin dark clouds. It was as if the heavens were very kind to Yanlan City for sending out their troops. The cold wind blew, and their cloaks fluttered. Lin Muyu breathed out a white mist, and couldn't help but smile bitterly in her heart. She had almost lost the ability to breathe, and now she was not used to this mortal body. The Eagle Nest Mountain was very high, and the field of vision was very broad. She could almost see the whole situation, and today, she would stay here for the whole day. Behind her, the sound of hooves was getting closer and closer. It was Feng Jixing, Wei Chou, Zhang Wei, Situ Sen, and the others. Holding the reins of the warhorses, Feng Jixing slowly walked over and said, Your Highness, the three armies have all set off. The 180,000 Longdan Army Camp, 100,000 Royal Guards, 200,000 National Army, and 80,000 Navy troops stationed in Yanlan City have gone to Lingdong in two routes, land and sea. Plus the armies from all provinces, 100,000 soldiers from the 7 navies, 50,000 soldiers from the National Army, 120,000 soldiers from Mingshan Province, 150,000 soldiers from Ba Huang Province, 100,000 soldiers from the Monster Race, and 80,000 soldiers from the Iron Blade Army. The total number is 16 million. Plus the Dragon League and Gong Gong Navy, the total number is 26 million. I am here to inform your highness. Thanks for your hard work, General Feng. Qin Yin nodded and asked, Are the provisions and weapons ready? Yes. Feng Jixing said, This time, we have sent over 1,200 giant magic crystal cannons, 4,300 small magic crystal cannons, and 20,000 magic crystal crossbows. The total number of cavalrymen is as high as 250,000. Almost all the horses from the farms in the north and south of the empire have been gathered here. Almost every soldier has been given 2 sets of armors and weapons. That should be enough. Where's the medicine? How's the funding for the casualty camp? Lin Muyu asked. Chu Yao, who was standing beside Feng Jixing, smiled faintly and said, Don't worry, I've already sent out orders to the Elixir Division to select talents and send them to Lingdong. I've also brought along a large amount of medicine. The total number of military doctors is more than 50,000, and we've prepared 5,000 tents and 10,000 stretchers for the casualty barracks. I believe that's enough. Thank you, Sister Chu Yao. Lin Muyu smiled. In terms of preparation, we have far surpassed Yangshang. Feng Jixing said, Yangshang is the marshal of the Northern God Realm. He has never fought in the mortal realm before, so I'm afraid that he isn't used to fighting in the mortal realm. Let's wait and see how Xianxia commands his 2.5 million troops. This is not a small number. Lin Muyu coughed and said, I'm not worried about what Xianxia can do. What I'm worried about is the people who have submitted to Xianxia. Chen Yu and Baiming Yuan. These two prime ministers of the great kingdom of Shang are not simple people. Moreover, Chen Yu has many strategists under his command. If Chen Yu advises Xianxia, then we might be in big trouble. There's one more problem. Feng Jixing said in a low voice, even if we use the entire nation's ships and the fishermen's ships, we still can't transport 1 million troops across the sea in one go. At most, we can transport 400,000 people in 3 trips. But if the wind is favorable, it will take 3 to 5 days to reach the other side. If the wind is against it, even a ship with a steam engine will need at least 7 days to reach the other side. 3 trips back and forth would be equivalent to more than a month. If we launch a large-scale attack, I'm afraid that we can only delay the enemy for half a month with 400,000 people. Lin Muyu felt a headache coming on. She felt that she was at her wit's end. Wei Chou cupped his fists and said, Your Highness, Lin General, it's actually not a problem to delay the enemy with 400,000 troops. Don't we have the West Mountain Province? With the West Mountain Province as a barrier, it won't be a problem to hold out for half a month. Let's hope so, provided that Xianxia doesn't take the initiative to attack, and is willing to let go of Yao. But Yao is in imminent danger. I've already ordered her to retreat. Lin Muyu frowned and said, besides, once Xianxia takes the initiative to attack, our entire plan will fail. Feng Jixing narrowed his eyes and said, according to the information I've sent out, the ports in the inland seas of the Tianji Empire, the Blackstone Empire and the Celestial Empire have a great number of warships. Added with the fact that the forests in the greatest heaven land are abundant and easy to harvest, the number of warships possessed by the entire kingdom of Shang is far greater than ours. Perhaps. Perhaps what? Perhaps Xianxia will give the order to build 1 million-strong navy and start a world-shaking water war against us in the East Sea. That would be great. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, that's exactly what I want. Are you sure that Xianxia doesn't know about the existence of the Gonggong Navy? By the time the Gonggong Navy arrived, the heavenly punishment had already descended. The senses of the gods have decreased, and Xianxia may not be able to sense the Gonggong Navy from thousands of miles away. We can only take a gamble. If it's a naval war, Qianfeng's 10,000-strong army might come in handy. Yes, I've already taken that into consideration. By dusk, more than half of the Longdan army camp and the Imperial army had already left Lanyan City. Lin Muyu and the others rode down Eagle Nest Mountain and officially left the city. The horses' hooves stepped on the snow, making rustling sounds. A layer of ice had already formed on Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin's shoulder armor, which couldn't be wiped off. The 2 girls' faces were also red from the cold. It was really hard on them. Outside the city, under the leadership of Qin Yan, a group of imperial guards raised the Empress's flag and escorted Qin Yin out of Lanyan City. The cold wind was bleak, and everyone's faces were more or less filled with reluctance. They didn't know when they would be able to return after leaving the capital. The mountains were high and the rivers were long, and the journey was long. They didn't know if they could survive until the end of the war. The soldiers inevitably looked perturbed. The imperial guards were slightly better. Their cultivation was considered high, and they were less perturbed and more confident than ordinary soldiers. Moreover, they were the Empress's guards, and this sense of honor was very strong. Your Highness. Your Highness, wait a minute. A person's shout came from within the city. He was wearing the armor of a second-rank military general and was a vice-commander. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Feng Jixing all reined in their horses and turned to look. That person galloped in the wind and snow. His face was ashen from the cold. It was Zheng Fang, Zheng Yifan's son and Zheng Xiang's younger brother. Zheng Fang dismounted and said respectfully, "Your Highness, Father is here to send you off." "Oh, deity Ho is here?" "Yes." In the distance, the sound of galloping horses could be heard. The old official, Zheng Yifan, was galloping over under the protection of the God Might Battalion's cavalry. His face looked very weathered. Perhaps it was because he had lost his divine power, but he seemed to have aged a lot. After dismounting from his horse, he knelt on the snowy ground beside the road, cupped his fists, looked up at Qin Yin, and said, "Your Highness, you really don't want to bring me along for the expedition?" Qin Yin pursed her red lips and said, "Deity Ho, you're old, and I don't want you to suffer the pain of the bumpy journey. This old subject thanks your Highness for your concern, but..." Zheng Yifan frowned and said, "Even if your Highness doesn't bring this old subject along, at least bring this old subject's 8,000 soldiers from the Divine Might Battalion with me. The soldiers all look forward to the day when they can serve the Empire, slay the enemy, and make contributions." Qin Yin shook her head, "Deity Ho, the imperial capital needs the protection of you and the God Might Battalion. Antlien's Zither Dragon army is far from enough, so please leave the God Might Battalion behind and replace the Imperial Guards to protect the Imperial capital. Your Highness, you're assured to let me guard Lanyan City?" Zheng Yifan seemed a little surprised. "Why wouldn't I be assured?" Qin Yin smiled faintly. Her beautiful smile was like a wisp of spring wind in the cold winter, and it warmed people's hearts. "I thank your Highness for your trust." Zheng Yifan knelt on the ground and bowed, then said respectfully, "I will definitely wish your Highness and Lin general victory in the imperial capital. I hope that you can unify the celestial pole as soon as possible, and let the banner of Great Qin spread throughout the world." "Yes, you will. The weather is cold, Deity Ho should go back and rest early." "Yes, your Highness." Zheng Yifan slowly stood up, and he didn't bother to wipe the snow on his knees and pants. He just watched as Qin Yin and the others left and disappeared into the curtain of snow. "Father." Zheng Fang was now a middle-aged man with a mustache. He said, "Is your Highness really willing to hand over the defense of Lanyan City to the Zheng family?" Zheng Yifan's old eyes shone brightly. He said, "After so many years, your Highness is finally willing to believe in the loyalty of the Divine Marquis residents, then we will do our best to serve the Empire and defend Lanyan City. As long as the Imperial capital exists, we will exist. If the Imperial capital falls, the Zheng family will also fall." "Yes, Father." 2 days later, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Feng Jixing were in the command center of the Empire's army. They had already arrived at the outskirts of Five Valleys City. Tents had already been set up outside the city. They immediately fed the horses, ate their meals, and took a short rest. In order to avoid arousing suspicion, Lin Muyu had a tent alone and didn't stay with Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi. After all, in the eyes of the Empire's soldiers, Qin Yin was still the Empress, and Lin Muyu was still the Marshal. Even though they were a couple, people would gossip about them if they stayed together. No one knew about the deep palace of Zhe Tian Palace, but it was different when they were on the march. The body of an ordinary person would be exhausted after running for 2 days and 2 nights. The moment Lin Muyu touched the pillow, she fell into a deep sleep. Even the sound of snow falling on the tent and the guards sweeping away the snow on the tent could barely be heard. The next day, the half-asleep Lin Muyu was awakened by the cheers outside. He got up, put on his armor, and walked out of the tent. He heard the cheers of the soldiers. "The snow has stopped, the sun is out, that's great." "The sun is out?" Lin Muyu turned around, and a ray of golden light shone on his face. Oh, the sun is really out, the heavenly punishment had ended, and the purpose of punishment had been achieved. However, everyone had become ordinary people. What was the next step of the heavens? Lin Muyu looked up at the sky and frowned. He could no longer sense the aura of the heavenly realm, and he didn't know how the situation of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and Xiao was. He was full of worry, but there was nothing he could do. This feeling was simply hopeless. Chapter 11:26. In the Ba Wasteland realm, there was a gigantic purple vine that reached into the clouds. There was a person trapped in the cage-like vine. The vine's thorns pierced into his body and quickly absorbed what little divine power he had left. Strands of faint purple demonic aura swirled around him, causing the entire Ba Wasteland realm to lose its color. It was as if it had fallen into a deathly stillness. Finally, the demonic aura gathered and condensed into a huge figure. It was a person shackled by a huge metal chain. His body was filled with demonic aura, and his face was filled with arrogance and viciousness. He chuckled and said, "7 luminaries Demon Emperor, it's been a long time. I never thought you would end up like this." The Demon Emperor raised his head and looked at him weakly. His eyes were filled with shock. "How could it be you? Chu Xingyun, didn't you die? Ha ha ha. You think a mere heaven's retribution can kill me? Demonic aura, Tian Fa gods, are these your handiwork?" The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor asked calmly. "No, I don't have that ability." Chu Xingyun laughed heartily and said, "Your world has lost its righteous path, so it will inevitably lead to the invasion of demons. This isn't something I can control. All I can do is push the boat along. I'll give you the demon chi I've gathered in the 3,000 worlds for many years, so that you can establish a new order in your world." He he he. Back then, you were equally matched with me, but what about now? The demon god I've created will crush you like an ant. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor's body trembled. He shouted angrily, "Chu Xingyun, what right do you have to create a god? Who do you think you are? Ha ha ha, looks like you still don't believe me and still look down on me. Then open your dog eyes and see what I've obtained. What right do I have to create a god?" As he spoke, Chu Xingyun shouted. Rays of golden light gathered in front of his chest. Very quickly, a thick golden grimoire appeared. There were faint golden symbols on the grimoire. Book of God Investiture. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor was completely shocked. How is this possible? How is this possible? Wasn't the Book of God Investiture destroyed by the ancestral god a long time ago? Do you really think that there are only 6 realms in this world? Childish. Chu Xingyun laughed heartily and said, 10,000 heavenly laws, all kinds of karma, there is a world beyond this world, and it is a mysterious world that you fake gods are unable to pry into. For example, I entered the 3,000 worlds by chance. There are flowers blooming like brocade here, beautiful beyond compare. Wait, you seem to be chained up with a metal chain, the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor said calmly. Shut up. Chu Xingyun instantly went berserk. He angrily roared, I'm the number 1 person in the 3,000 worlds. How could I be locked up by someone? Just you wait, even in another world, I can still destroy everything you have. Is it because I look down on you? The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor asked. Yes, so what? Chu Xingyun said harshly, I can't stand people looking down on me the most in my life, not even you. The heavenly book of divine bestowment has already opened the door to the demon world for me. Just you wait for the demon god I conferred upon you to destroy your world. Ha 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 ha. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor suddenly threw his head back and laughed. What are you laughing at? Chu Xingyun said angrily. I'm laughing at your ignorance. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor's eyes shone brightly. He said, haven't you heard of yin and yang, the natural law of all things? Since ancient times, if there's good, there's evil. If there's evil, there's good. Use the power of the demon world to interfere with the laws of the 6 realms. Perhaps with your help, you can create a new order in the 6 realms and open a new door to the heavenly Tao. Bullsh *T. Chu Xingyun looked at the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor ferociously. He pointed at his nose and said, "You. Wait. Wait. I'll wait." The 7 luminaries' demon emperor raised his head. He endured the bone-piercing pain, but his gaze was still arrogant. It wasn't until Chu Xingyun's demon god body dissipated that the 7 luminaries' demon emperor nodded and muttered, "Could there be other worlds outside the 6 realms? What are these 3,000 worlds? Are they existences that are separated from the outer heavens?" At that moment, thunder rumbled in the sky. It seemed to indicate that another law was forming. Not long after, a purple demonic flame shot across the sky. It quickly turned into thousands of fragments and shot towards different parts of the universe. Instantly, the 7 luminaries' demon emperor frowned and gritted his teeth. "Chu Xingyun, you lunatic. Do you really have the ability to form a new order?" Spiritual Mountain. The sky was densely covered with purple clouds, giving people a feeling of suffocation. Outside the palace, Xia watched from afar. She was powerless. She had lost her godly power and became immortal. She couldn't travel between the various spiritual mountains, let alone visit the 7 luminaries' demon emperor. "What's that?" Sun Feng looked up at the purple clouds in the sky. Xiao shook her head. "I don't know. But it seems like a new power has started to rule the 6 realms. It's an extremely evil power of order. Damn, I can feel it. It's very evil. It even leads people to evil." "That's right." Xiao's eyes were filled with worry. "I don't know how much suffering the 6 realms will have to go through." Sun Feng, immediately send people to search for seeds and food on the spiritual mountain. Start planting grains and fruits on the spiritual mountain. Do what? Get some food. Aren't you hungry? I'm hungry, then why aren't you going? Yes. In the outer heavens, a golden heavenly melody hovered in the sky. The land was lush and green. It was a peaceful and tranquil scene. In the lush forest, an old man with a pale face carried a bamboo basket on his back. He bent down to search the underbrush, using a golden shovel to pick up the herbs one by one, and then leisurely placed them into the bamboo basket. A heavenly melody floated in the sky. He was slightly startled. In the next moment, his body turned into a golden light and shot into the sky. In the blink of an eye, he stepped into a solemn and dignified hall, and the other 2 figures arrived in a flash. One of them was a beautiful woman with a human head and a snake's body. She wore a long dress, and her eyes revealed pity and love. She had the imposing aura of a motherly model of the world, and she held a white jade staff in her hand that was exquisite, translucent, and emanated an oppressive glow. The other was an old man in a green robe. He had a celestial appearance. His eyes were like the bright moon in the sky. His white beard fluttered in the wind. He was out of this world. It was obvious that he was a celestial being. The 3 of them looked at each other and smiled. They floated into the glass pavilion in the hall and knelt on one knee. "Greetings, Sky Sovereign." There was no one in the hall, but a deep voice sounded. It sounded like a human, a celestial, and a beast. "Fushi, Nuwa, Shenong, you've all seen the situation of the 6 realms, right?" "Yes, Sky Sovereign." Nuwa looked up. Her beautiful eyes were filled with pity. "Once the heavenly punishment is over, there will be no more righteous gods in the 6 realms. Demonic chi will invade, and a disaster will be inevitable. The gods don't care about the righteous people. It's expected that they would suffer this disaster. But the people of the 6 realms need the protection of the gods." "But Sky Sovereign," Fushi said respectfully, "the sky beyond heaven surpasses the 6 realms. We have an agreement with the gods of the north not to interfere in the affairs of the 6 realms. How can we help the 6 realms?" "Fushi, didn't you help Lin Muyu before?" "This." Fushi smiled faintly. "This disciple really likes that child. Nuwa also smiled. Heavenly Sovereign Pangu continued, the Tao is formed by nature. The Mahayana heavenly Tao that I understand originates from the human heart and all things in the world. Since the heavenly punishment has taken away the position of the gods, the three of you should work together to send the heavenly melody scroll into the firmament of the 6 realms. The heavenly melody scroll will condense between the heavens and the earth. It will inherit the heavenly Tao and follow nature to confer new gods. Yes, Sky Sovereign. The 3 sovereigns walked out of the ethereal void palace and stood in the sky above the sky beyond heaven. They looked at each other and smiled. They floated in the sky in a triangular formation and raised their arms. Suddenly, a vast divine power surged out. In the center, a resplendent light condensed into a golden scroll. It was the heavenly melody scroll, the treasure of the entire sky beyond heaven. The light became brighter and brighter. Sweat appeared on the faces of the 3 sovereigns. After a long time, the light almost illuminated the entire sky beyond heaven. Boom! The heavenly melody scroll turned into a huge pillar and shot into the sky. It directly broke through the firmament and pierced into the huge black hole in the universe. Fushi's eyes were cold. He said lightly, "Next, it will depend on the children's fate." "The heavens bless our race," Nuwa nodded and remained silent. Shino grabbed the bamboo basket and disappeared in the sky without a word. Shattered Cauldron Realm. Outside the winter frost city, snow was falling. In the distance, there was a group of people. It was the 30,000-strong cavalry led by Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and the others. The sound of the horses' hooves was very messy. It was already late at night. What's going on in the sky? Lin Muyu looked up at the dark clouds in the sky. She could vaguely sense a very annoying power beginning to spread in the sky. It's the invasion of evil energy. Tang Xiaoxi's heart was the purest and most sincere. She hated the aura of the demonic realm even more. At this moment, a beam of golden light appeared like a ribbon and pierced through the purple clouds formed by the demonic energy. It was like a ray of light in the darkness. "What is that?" Lin Muyu asked. "I don't know." Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi shook their heads. Feng Jixing's eyes lit up. He pointed into the distance and said, "You, look over there. There's an army that arrived at the Winter Frost City almost at the same time as us." "Whose army is that?" "It looks very majestic." In the darkness of the night, the torches illuminated the things in the near distance. Immediately, one could see many ugly giants walking in the dark, carrying heavy iron armors on their backs and holding simple sharp blades in their hands. Each of them had thick shells and sharp teeth. They looked ugly and ferocious. What else could they be other than armor demons? Qianfeng's army had arrived first. In the distance, a white horse galloped over. It was Qianfeng alone. He dismounted and knelt in the dirty snow. He said respectfully, "Qianfeng greets your highness." "Rise, Marshal Qianfeng." "Thank you, your highness." Qianfeng stood up and looked at Qin Yin's snow-white face under the light of the torch, which was still as beautiful and moving as before. He could not help but feel a surge of joy. He had been preparing for this day for many years. Lin Muyu asked, "Marshal Qianfeng, how many armor demons have you brought?" "Marshal, a total of 100,000 armor demons, 30,000 winged men, 10,000 horseshoe men, 10,000 Protoss cavalry, and 25 giant flying snakes." "Good." Lin Muyu smiled and said, "Keep the 100,000 armor demons for now. Don't board the ship. I'll give them to Yangshang as a gift. It's a big surprise." Qianfeng understood and smiled. "Yes, I understand. As a marshal, one would not be qualified if he did not know all the tricks." Obviously, Lin Muyu was very qualified. Qianfeng had been fighting for the demons for so many years. His teammates were usually idiots like Lei Chong and Shen Xiang. Now that he had joined the Qin army, his teammates were smart generals like Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Ding Shi, and Wei Chou. The joy that came from the bottom of his heart could not be concealed. Chapter 1127. Xuanming Town, a small town only 10 miles away from Tianji City, was currently being ravaged by the flames of war. A group of evil Yangshang Army's advance team plundered countless belongings, food, and women like the autumn wind sweeping away the fallen leaves. In the prison carriage, a young girl in her 20s, wearing a green prison uniform, lay lifelessly on a pile of straw. Beside her was the person who was in charge of escorting her. The person wore a blood-red armor and held a spear in his hand. His face was covered by a helmet, revealing only his frightening eyes. He spurred his warhorse forward slowly and said impatiently to the guards beside him, "Stop being so wishy-washy. If those wicked people come to bother us again, shoot them down." "Humph, this girl's appearance is not bad, so I won't make her a concubine. Leave her here." "Yes, Lord Philae." Philae, who used to be a divine king expert in the northern divine realm, had now fallen to the level of a holy venerable, but his desire to bully the weak had not diminished at all. He still held his spear and guarded his spoils of war. There were a total of 3 large carriages of supplies, and this was all the belongings that could be plundered from the entire Xuanming town. At this moment, a shout came from the snowy ground behind them. A group of people holding forks and pickaxes rushed over. The leader was an old man, and he shouted in despair, "Let go of my daughter. You can take the food and cotton, but, let go of my daughter, she did not violate the Empire's laws, you can't take her away. Village chief, please say something for me." The white-haired village chief hurriedly cupped his hands and said, "My lord, our Xuanming town has paid its quarterly taxes on time. Just now, all the belongings in the town have also been offered to you, my lord. Please be magnanimous and let go of his daughter. I will kneel down in front of you, please be magnanimous." The old man knelt on the snowy ground shakily and bowed with his whole body prostrated. "Village chief, I don't want to make things difficult for you, but I've said it before. Don't bring your people to chase after me. Otherwise, I won't be polite. Since you're here, it's not unreasonable for me to do something." There was a sneer on Felix's face. Suddenly, he grabbed the longbow on the side of the warhorse and shot an arrow. His archery skills were exceptional. With a poochie sound, the arrow pierced the neck of the village chief. Blood spurted out and the village chief died on the snowy ground without a sound, his body convulsing and trembling. "Kill!" Philae roared angrily, "These ungrateful and unruly people, kill them all." The guards drew their bows and arrows and shot randomly at the townspeople who were holding farming tools. Dozens of townspeople could not resist the arrows and fell to the ground in the blink of an eye. "I'll fight it out with you bastards." The father of the captured girl raised his iron pickaxe and rushed over. Even though he had been shot twice in the leg, he still used the iron pickaxe to support himself as he walked over. His eyes were filled with rage. "I'm going to kill you, you devil. I'm going to kill you." Philae looked at the old father and sneered at the girl in the cage, "Beauty, in order for you to serve me without any worries in the future, I'll cut off your worldly thoughts today. I think my father-in-law will not be stingy with his life. Come." He suddenly spurred his horse and rushed forward. With a shake of his spear, the tip of the spear turned into a whirling flame and pierced through the old father's throat. Flesh and blood splattered and his head was almost blown off from his body. His method of killing was not only cruel, it was simply inhumane. "Father!" The girl in the prison cart let out a heart-wrenching scream. She desperately hit the wooden pillar of the cart with her head, but it was to no avail. She was simply too weak to fight against the strong person in front of her. Philae pulled out the spear, brought it to his mouth and licked a mouthful of blood. He chuckled, "The blood of mortals is actually so delicious, he. Beside him, another former God State expert seemed to be unable to bear it anymore. He frowned and said, Philae, don't forget that you used to be one of the gods of the northern divine realm. Aren't you afraid of divine retribution for killing innocent people in the mortal world? Divine retribution? Philae laughed. George, my friend, do you think it's not divine retribution for us to turn from gods to mortals? Since even the heavens have given up on us, why should we still stubbornly cling to the path of gods? The gods have already fallen, and the heavenly Tao has already collapsed. What I want is power and status, not some heavenly Tao. Humph, to hell with the heavenly Tao. It's just a trick to deceive idiots. George frowned but didn't say anything. At this moment, the sky was filled with purple clouds and lightning shook the earth. Boom boom boom. The nearby forest was set ablaze because of the lightning strike. Everyone was shocked. The demonic energy in the air was very thick, and they could even faintly see lines of obscure purple characters looming in the sky. What is that? George gripped his sword tightly, his face ashen. Philae also gripped his spear tightly and growled, get into formation and prepare to meet the enemy. However, there were no enemies. Instead, a golden scroll unfurled in the air. Almost the entire vault of heaven was covered and occupied by the scroll. A vast heavenly might surged over the earth of the mortal world, and a mysterious buzzing power invaded all living things. Not long after, a beam of purple light shot down from the horizon and bombarded into Felix's body with a schwa sound. There wasn't even a single warning. Ah! Philae felt as if his body was about to explode. He rolled over and fell off his horse, curled up and trembled as if he was in great pain. At this time, a giant demonic shadow slowly condensed in the air, looking at the people on the ground with disdain. The voice sounded as if it came from beyond the heavens and said emotionlessly, Philae, you have done all kinds of bad things, and your heart is filled with resentment. You have achieved the demonic path and received the recognition of the demon's sealing book. Today, I will grant you a demonic body and confer you the title of a second-class god, Lionheart Demon God. I hope you will behave yourself and serve the demonic path in this world. The demonic shadow disappeared in an instant, and strands of demonic energy began to gather, falling from the sky and seeping into Philae's body. Ah! Philae's miserable howl woke everyone from their shock. They saw Philae's body tremble violently, and a purple demonic body appeared behind him, gradually fusing with his body. At the same time, an awe-inspiring divine power rippled out. When Philae opened his eyes, everyone saw a pair of purple eyes. He had obtained a demonic body and was titled as a demon god. Just like that, the first demon god of the mortal world was born. Philae, how did you become like this? George asked in horror. Why, isn't this good? Philae sneered, George, are you not used to the current me? Aren't you the god of kindness? Do you still think so now? Philae's eyes shone with a fierce light. Philae, are you crazy? What are you trying to do? George had already pulled out his sword. This team only needs one leader, Yi Zichen said. Philae shouted, and the spear pierced through George's heart like lightning. George did not even have time to react. Philae's speed was far beyond George's imagination, so much so that George, who had fallen to the Holy King realm, was killed in an instant. Hiss! Blood gushed out along the spear. The dozens of Yangshang army guards were dumbfounded. George was a small army commander in the army, but he was killed just like that. Philae's eyes were full of malevolence. He slowly pulled out the spear and said, from today onwards, I will be in charge of the 1st Army's 7th Squad. Do you all understand? Yes, Lord Philae. No one wanted to die. The current Philae's strength was unfathomable, and no one knew who he would kill next. Very well. Follow me to Tianji Palace to see Yangshang. Unknowingly, Philae had changed the way he addressed Yangshang, the emperor. After all, he was now much stronger than Yangshang. Shattered Cauldron Realm, East Coast. Lin Muyu did not enter Winter Frost City. Instead, she stayed in the warm and comfortable palace. Instead, she brought the Longdan Army Camp's cavalry division to the Blue Wind Harbor Station. Although the station was cold, it at least made her feel more at ease. In the afternoon, heavy snow began to fall again. Inside the commander's tent, the four generals, Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Qian Feng, and Ding Shi, surrounded a huge sand table map and were pondering how Yangshang would start this war. However, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled outside, and the rumbling sound was deafening. "What's wrong?" Feng Jixing was stunned. "Let's go out and take a look." Lin Muyu flew out of the commander's tent and saw that Tang Xiaoxi, Qin Yin, Chu Yao, and Ouyang Yan had already come out of the tent at the side. Outside, thunder rumbled, and purple clouds rolled in. The strong sense of oppression was almost suffocating. At the same time, the sky was soon covered with a golden scroll glowing with purple light. Countless ancient characters were faintly discernible in the air. It was the Book of Investiture of the Gods, also known as the Book of Investiture of Gods. Then, the roar of the demonic shadow came faintly from the sky, and the words of Investiture of Gods were transmitted to the people of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Investiture of Gods. But it was a demon god. Everyone was shocked. Some soldiers of the Longdan army camp turned pale. That name, was it someone from the celestial pole continent? Someone in the opponent's camp was actually Investiture of Gods. This was a fatal blow to the morale of the Qin Empire. Dog Heavenly Dao. Zhang Wei pointed to the sky and said, "What kind of heavenly Dao are you? You actually Investiture a bad guy? What kind of dog are you?" Zhang Wei. "Shut up." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "People are divided into good and evil, and so are gods. You can disagree with this distinction, but you must be in awe." Zhang Wei grinned and didn't continue to say anything. In this world, there were only 3 people who could shut him up. One was Feng Jixing, one was Lin Muyu, and the other was the female empress, Qin Yin. Ding Shi's eyes flickered, and he nodded and said, "It seems that the situation is developing in a worse direction." Feng Jixing said, What is this demon god?" "I don't know either." Lin Muyu shook her head, and there was a trace of doubt in her eyes. She said, "But one thing is certain. The people of the realm of gods said that the war of gods and demons tens of thousands of years ago is going to happen again. The difference is that this time, it is very likely that we will be the participants of the war of gods and demons." Feng Jixing was speechless. Chapter 1128. In the Tianji Palace, hundreds of officials stood in great numbers. Yangshang sat high up on the throne. Dola held the imperial edict and stood beside Yangshang, reading aloud, "The First Army has 500,000 soldiers and will be stationed in Tianji City under the command of Emperor Shang. The Second and Third Army have a total of 1 million soldiers and will be led by Chen Yu. The Fourth Army has 300,000 soldiers and will be led by Baiming Yuan. They will set off in 3 days. The Second and Third Army will attack Xishan Province from the north, east and south respectively. We must eliminate the Baizhe mercenaries controlled by Si Kongyao within 2 days." Under the throne, Chen Yu, Baiming Yuan and the other officials were silent. "What's wrong? Do you have any objections?" Yangshang sneered. Chen Yu knelt down respectfully and said, "Emperor Shang, please forgive me for being straightforward. Most of our troops are new recruits who have just been recruited within half a year. They lack training and logistical provisions are insufficient. Most of the provisions are still in the territory of the Celestial Empire and haven't been sent over. It will take at least 10 days for the provisions and equipment to be sent to the territory of Tianji Empire through the Forest of No Return. Therefore, I think we should wait for a while and start the war when the provisions arrive. Otherwise, once the army sets off for Xishan Province, I'm afraid there won't be anything to eat along the way." "Is that so?" Yangshang said lightly, it seems that the Prime Minister really knows our army's provisions like the back of your hand. Chen Yu frowned and said, Virtuous Sky Province has been sending out rations for many years. The treasury has long been empty. As for East Com Province, it was also filled with starving people after the battle 2 years ago. Now that it's experiencing a snow disaster, the people don't even have food for themselves, much less taxes. If your majesty insists on attacking now, I'm afraid the places the army passes by will be scorched. So what if it becomes a scorched land? Yang Shang stood up and sneered, the army will plunder the provisions along the way. Even if there is no provisions, it's okay to eat people. Didn't Marshal Gong Shangming of Tianji Empire do the same? Bai Ming Yuan's face immediately turned ashen, but he did not speak. Chen Yu frowned and said, Emperor Shang, please forgive me for speaking bluntly. Since ancient times, only a benevolent and righteous ruler has been able to conquer and rule the world. In the past, Gong Shangming had no choice but to command his army to cannibalize humans. However, we have not reached the point where we have no choice but to do so. The people are the foundation of a country. The hearts of the people will be on the side of the heavens. Your Majesty, please reconsider and never mention cannibalism again. The heavenly Tao must not be defied. Yang Shang slammed his palm on the throne and said, Chen Yu, you're just a god from the mortal world. Who do you think you are? As one of the 2 great marshals of the northern god realm, do I not understand the heavenly law better than you? Don't talk to me about benevolence and righteousness. In my place, benevolence and righteousness can only be fed to dogs. Strength is the true ruler. Chen Yu gritted his teeth and slowly knelt down. Your Majesty, the holy judgment. At this moment, thunder rumbled outside the main hall. It was the light of the god sealing devil book. Everyone walked out of the main hall one after another. The mighty voice in the air had already completed the conferment of Philae as a god. He's a titled devil god. Philae is a titled devil god. Ha ha ha. Yang Shang looked proud and said, Chen Yu, do you have anything else to say now? Do you still want to tell me that the heavenly Tao must not be defied? Chen Yu remained silent. In reality, Yang Shang did not know who Philae was at all. However, he knew that Philae would definitely come. Men, prepare the ceremonial guards to welcome the return of Philae, a middle devil god. Yes. In less than 2 hours, Philae led his troops into Tianji City. Philae walked proudly into the main hall, but he did not kneel down. Cough, cough. Bai Ming Yuan coughed. After all, there was a difference in status. However, Philae still did not kneel. He just cupped his hands and smiled. Subordinate Philae greets Emperor Shang. Yang Shang suppressed his anger and smiled. Philae, you are finally here. Yes. Felix looked up and saw Duola standing beside Yang Shang. On top of that, there was a dense group of guards standing behind the Emperor's screen. These guards were all carefully selected Saint King Realm Masters and were all equipped with Demon Heart arrows and Demon Heart stone swords. Once a fight broke out, Felix, a medium god, might not be able to instantly kill Yang Shang. If he couldn't kill Yang Shang, naturally, he wouldn't be able to become emperor. At this moment, Philae was in a dilemma. A few seconds later, he smiled respectfully and said, Your Majesty, I have been recognized by the diabolism. Huh, that's good. Yang Shang waved his hand and said, Men, bring the general's seal. I want to confer the title of General Philae as the 2nd Legion's vanguard general. He will command 100,000 soldiers, 1,000 hectares of fertile land, and 100 maids. Thank you, Your Majesty. This time, Philae knelt down and received the seal. Yang Shang walked down the steps and held Philae's hand with both hands. He smiled and said, Philae, from today onwards, you will follow Chen Yu to the West Mountain Province to fight against Si Kongyao's army. I hope you will do your best to serve the empire. In the future, glory, splendor and wealth will not be lacking for you. Thank you, Emperor Shang. Xianxia hesitated for a moment before asking, what does it feel like to be a titled demon god? Rebirth. Philae said concisely. It seemed that he did not want to say much. Xianxia couldn't help but laugh. Good, good. Go and prepare. We will set out to attack the West Mountain Province. Yes. The night at Blue Wind Harbor was extremely cold. Heavy snow continued to fall without any sleep or rest. The cold wind blew, causing the patrolling soldiers to shiver. The neighing of the warhorses and the noises of the soldiers training at night merged into one. More and more troops from the various provinces had gathered. In the blink of an eye, they had already formed a camp that was nearly 20 kilometers long on the plains west of Blue Wind Harbor. It was a very spectacular sight. Thud, 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 the sound of horse hooves echoed in the snow on the coast. The white-robed Lin Muyu led Wei Chou and Situ Sun to patrol the camp. This was also something that Marshal Lin Muyu had to do every day. The camp was too long, so it was necessary to patrol it. Otherwise, if something went wrong, it would be very troublesome. The treading snow warhorses panted heavily. In the face of such cold weather, even this kind of superior horse was somewhat tired. Needless to say, Wei Chou and Situ Sen's warhorses. The three of them walked in front, followed by hundreds of cavalrymen from the Longdan army camp. Lin General. Wei Chou suddenly said, but hesitated. What do you want to ask? Ask. Lin Muyu said. Yes. Wei Chou cupped his fists and said, Heaven's Pole Continent's Philae has been conferred the title of demon god. The evil path is awe-inspiring, but what about us? Are we considered to be righteous? Yes. Why are we considered to be righteous? Wei Chou asked. Lin Muyu hesitated for a few seconds and said, we started the war to protect ourselves, to end the war, and for the long-term peace of the future. We kill for the sake of all living beings. With this belief, we are righteous. But is killing really considered to be righteous? We can only think of it that way. Lin General. Wei Chou frowned and did not say anything. What's wrong? In the future, where should we go? Wei Chou asked. Even the commander of the Longdan army camp asked this. Lin Muyu could not help but feel a wave of annoyance in her heart. The people's hearts were already in chaos. How could they calm them down? After a while, Lin Muyu said slowly, when I left the God realm, Big Brother 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor sacrificed himself to guard the 8 Wasteland domain. I don't know if he's dead or alive, but he said something to me before I left, and it gave me some hope. What hope? This time, it was Wei Chou and Situ Sun who asked together. The righteousness of heaven and earth, the vast and everlasting. Lin Muyu said in a deep voice, we live to fight. We, the soldiers of the great Qin dynasty, are unyielding and unyielding. We never fear a strong enemy's challenge. We fight to protect our homeland. This righteousness will definitely support us to the end. This is what I can tell you now. Wei Chou's eyes lit up and said, thank you, Lin General. At this moment, the lights of the warships in the distance suddenly flickered. Along with the wind came the hoarse cries for help from humans. The sea, what's wrong? Lin Muyu asked. I don't know. Suddenly, there was a bang. The light from the magic crystal cannons surged on the sea, and the roars of wild beasts came from there. The Navy's warships must have met with trouble. Situ Sun clenched his teeth and said. Let's go and take a look. Lin Muyu turned over and dismounted. She pulled out the Xian Yuan sword and rushed to the sea. She stepped on the waves without sinking and quickly rushed to the distant sea. Situ Sun and Wei Chou also took out their weapons and followed Lin Muyu on the waves. The two of them were not weak. Even if they were in the Holy King realm, they could at least walk on the waves. Roar roar, on the sea, a ferocious beast that looked like a dragon but was not a dragon let out a roar. It opened its bloody mouth and spat out a large mouthful of frost. Immediately, the soldiers on half of the ship were forced to retreat. Many of them were even directly frozen. They would die without a doubt. Swoosh! A silhouette dashed over, and a golden light bloomed. It was Lin Muyu. The Xianyuan sword swept across the beast's neck, and with a poochie sound, the scales were cut open, and blue blood flowed out. The giant beast wailed and twisted its huge body. Its tail was like a steel whip as it swept across from the back. Lin Muyu turned sideways and summoned the dragon blood shield with his left hand. With a loud bang, the powerful shock made him move dozens of meters horizontally on the surface of the sea. His feet left a trail on the waves, and his battle boots stepped on the surface of the water. His whole body shot out like lightning. The Xianyuan sword shone brightly, and with the mysterious energy of the chaos of the lives, he stabbed into the giant beast's body for the second time, leaving a long gap. Whoosh! A stream of light shot into the eye of the giant beast. It was Wei Chao's Hoi Bao. The shooting was extremely accurate. Lin Muyu shouted, "Blind the other eye too. Navy, don't fire any more." In the distance, the generals on the warships ordered to stop firing to avoid hurting their own people. Wei Chou followed up with 2 more arrows. Suddenly, the giant beast became blind. Lin Muyu gathered strength in her arms and threw the Xianyuan sword. The long sword spun and flew over. Like a cannonball, it penetrated the head of the giant beast and shattered the spirit stone. Woo woo, in the howl, the giant beast died, and its huge body slowly floated to the surface. "Lin General, are you okay?" Behind him, a man on the warship asked loudly. Under the light of the torch, it was Beili Tsang, the commander of the navy. Lin Muyu shook her head and walked to the side of the ship. She asked, "Beili Tsang, what is this thing?" "The deep-sea dragon." Beili Tsang said, "I've only seen this thing twice in my life. The first time was when I went out to sea with my father when I was 7 or 8 years old. At that time, only 2 of our ships escaped. The deep-sea dragon has always lived in the deep sea, but now it appeared in the coastal waters. It's really unusual." Lin Muyu said, "The weather is abnormal because of the heavenly punishment, which brings a series of environmental changes. It's not unusual for the deep-sea dragon to appear in the coastal waters. You have to be careful and protect our warships. At night, try to get all the warships to return to the port to avoid unnecessary losses." "Yes, I understand." Chapter 1129. Late at night, another deep-sea flood dragon attacked the Blue Wind port, but it was secretly stopped by the Gong Gong Navy under the command of Candle Dragon. The next morning, the sea breeze was cold, mixed with tiny snowflakes, which smashed on the face, especially painful. When Lin Muyu returned to her tent after patrolling the camp, she discovered that Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were brewing coffee in her living quarters. She had even brought back the equipment for brewing coffee from Earth. The 2 girls had already perfected the process of heating the coffee with alcohol. It was a rare opportunity to drink warm, fragrant coffee in Shattered Cauldron Realm. "Damn it, I can't live in peace." Feng Jixing walked in while cursing. He raised his head and said respectfully, "Your Highness and Princess are here as well." "Greetings, Your Highness." "Good morning, Your Highness." Qin Yin smiled and said, "Commander Feng, what's making you so angry? Sit down and have a cup of tea." "Thank you, Your Highness." Feng Jixing sat in front of Lin Muyu and said, Last night, the second deep-sea flood dragon attacked our port and overturned 3 ships and a fortress ship. Damn it, that fortress ship is our main warship. It can be used for transport and artillery battles. But this one cost over 100,000 Jining coins to build, and it sank with a wave of the dragon's tail." "I know." Lin Muyu pondered for a while and said, "Last night, I sent over 100 Gong Gong Navy soldiers into the deep sea to investigate. This morning, they reported back that because of the climate change and divine punishment, the air temperature has dropped, but the deep sea is heating up. Therefore, those deep-sea flood dragons couldn't stand the heat and all came ashore. Comparatively, they like the climate on land better." "How many deep-sea flood dragons are there?" "Tens of thousands. If nothing unexpected happens, we will receive many reports of coastal fishermen being attacked by deep-sea flood dragons in 3 days. Do we need to send people to kill them?" "We can't. Ordinary soldiers are no match for deep-sea flood dragons. 100 soldiers may not be able to defeat a flood dragon, and the scales of these flood dragons can even resist magic crystal cannons." "My goodness! Is he really that powerful?" Feng Jixing clicked his tongue and said, "Then forget I said anything. But your Gong Gong Navy is powerful, and good at water battles. Why don't you send them out to kill those flood dragons, in case those animals do harm to the world? I've already ordered Candle Dragon to be in charge of the coastal defense. 30,000 Gong Gong Navy warriors will be divided into over 100 legions, patrolling our coastal areas to ensure that nothing goes wrong." "That's good." Feng Jixing clapped his hands and smiled. "Your Highness, is my tea ready?" "Wait a moment, I'll be done soon." Qin Yin smiled sweetly. At this moment, 2 beautiful figures walked in from outside. They were Chu Yao and Ouyang Yen. "Sister Chu Yao, you're here." Lin Muyu stood up and personally moved a chair for Chu Yao. After Chu Yao sat down, she smiled sweetly and said, "So there are so many people, you must be here for something, right?" Chu Yao's eyes were as clear as water as she said in a low voice, "It's about the herbs. Over 30% of our warriors have frostbite on their hands and feet. The frostbite is spreading very fast, which will affect their fighting abilities. I've ordered to prepare gloves, boots, and other cold-proof items for them, but they can't be cured immediately. We still need some medicines to help them heal. Don't you have any in stock in the department?" asked Feng Jixing. Chu Yao smiled, shook her head and said, "We did have some, but they've been used up in the past half a month. The weather is cold, and more soldiers are suffering from frostbite. Before I came here, I've already sent a purchase list to the chambers of commerce in the 5 Valley City and Muyu City. The stores in the departments of spiritual medicine are all out, but these merchants still have a lot in stock. However, the funds of the departments of spiritual medicine have been used up. Therefore, this cost has to be paid by the Ministry of Revenue." Qin Yin walked over with a cup of coffee, put it in front of Chu Yao, smiled and said, "I see. How much in total?" 800,000 Jinin coins. Chu Yao took out a list of funds from her pocket and said, "This list was issued by the Department of Spiritual Medicine and the Ministry of War. If I want to get the money from the Ministry of Revenue, I need the signatures of 2 people. One is yours, and the other is your Highness's." "No problem." Qin Yin smiled cheerfully, reached into her pocket, and took out a dark blue signature pen. "Wait a minute, Xiao Yin." Lin Muyu was speechless and said, "If you sign with a fountain pen, the Ministry of Revenue might not recognize it." "It's okay, I have the imperial seal, that's right, sign it." After Qin Yin signed, Lin Muyu also signed her name. Following which, she took out the marshal's seal from her Qinkuan bag and stamped it. After that, she handed it over to Qin Yin. After Qin Yin stamped the Empress's imperial seal, it would be considered as an official signature. Chu Yao happily took the receipt, sat down again, and took a sip of coffee. She couldn't help but frown and say, "Wow, this taste is a little weird." Qin Yin smiled and said, yes, I thought so too at first, but I felt much better after that." "Sister Chu Yao, this is a specialty from Yu's hometown." "From Yu's hometown?" Chu Yao blinked her eyes and immediately took another sip. She smiled and said, "I like it. I will come over often in the future, is that okay?" Of course. At this moment, Feng Jixing also took a sip and couldn't help but spit it out. Wow, why does it taste like this? Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi all stared at him. Cough cough, the taste is actually quite unique. Feng Jixing laughed awkwardly. At lunchtime, everyone ate together in Lin Muyu's tent. Even the Empress and the Marshal's meals weren't much better. They had porridge, flatbread, and a pot of meat soup. Furthermore, the meat was dried wild boar meat. It was hard to swallow, and everyone's faces turned green. However, this was military rations, and there was nothing they could do about it. There had never been any good meals in the military camp, and even the dried rations were very laughable. The main dried rations were flatbread or flatbread that was squeezed out of rice and dried in the sun. Once the troops were on the move, the spiritual fire division couldn't cook. Usually, they would just hastily boil water and let the soldiers soak the rice flatbread for a meal. In a war of life and death, no one would care about whether they ate well or not. They only cared about whether they could eat their fill and whether they had the strength. In the afternoon, there was a military conference. Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing presided over the military conference. The commanders of all the major armies arrived one after another. Qin Yan, Tang Zhen, Chen Xiaoli, Su Jiantao, Wei Chou, Xiang Yu, Bai Litsang, Qian Feng, and the others were all present. The two sides of a huge long table were filled with high-ranking generals, and there was a heavy guard outside. These generals were too important. They were the core of the entire empire, and they had to be strictly protected. 3 huge paper scrolls formed a coastal defense map on the long table. On the map, small areas were marked, including the defenses of the Shattered Cauldron Realm and the coast of the Celestial Pole Continent, as well as the details of all the islands in the East Sea and even the northern continental shelf. All the generals looked grave, and the atmosphere of an unprecedented war spread out. Everyone was as if they were facing a formidable enemy. The opponent in this war was definitely not easy to deal with. After all, the opponent's military strength was more than twice their own. Marshal, when are we launching the attack? Everyone was silent, and only Xiang Yu opened his mouth to speak. According to our preparations, we can go out to sea and start the war 3 days ago. I know. Wait a moment. Lin Muyu placed her hand on the hilt of the sword at her waist and slowly walked past the generals. She came to the other side of the map, pointed at the West Mountain Province, and said, "The crux of this war is here." West Mountain Province? Wei Chou was stunned. "Milord, are you talking about the Baizhe mercenaries?" Lin Muyu nodded. The Baizhe mercenaries are a chess piece that I left in the Celestial Pole Continent many years ago. Now, this chess piece has already caused Yangshang to be unable to eat or sleep in peace. Therefore, Yangshang will definitely face the Baizhe mercenaries as an opponent. After all, there is room for others on one's bed. Zhang Wei clenched his fists. In my opinion, it would be better to directly charge over and use the West Mountain Province as a springboard to wipe out the army of that vile person Yangshang in one fell swoop. Lin Muyu could not help but laugh. Old Zhang is purposely setting us up as a bad example again. Everyone laughed heartily. Zhang Wei was completely confused. Lin Muyu continued, "First of all, Yangshang's military strength far surpasses ours. Coupled with the fact that the Celestial Pole Continent's armored cavalry is extremely powerful, their total cavalry numbers over 500,000, and over 1,000 dragon riders. This is their advantage, while our advantage lies in the magic crystal cannons and magic crystal crossbows. However, once we ascend to the Celestial Pole Continent and have a decisive battle with them on land, the speed of the cavalry will be extremely crucial. With Chen Yu's assistance, I believe that Yangshang will also understand how to use the cavalry's speed to wear down our cumbersome magic crystal cannons. In a battle on land, we will definitely suffer a loss, and a great one at that." Xiang Yu frowned. Then. Lin General means, a naval battle? That's right. Lin Muyu raised her sword-like eyebrows and smiled. Only by dragging Yangshang's army into a naval battle can we have a chance of winning. As far as I know, the navy of Yangshang's army is extremely powerful. Their warships can carry millions of troops into the sea. Our great Qin's ship can be called the king of naval battles. Together with the power of the magic crystal cannons, it is enough to deter the opponent. In addition, with the Gong Gong navy under my control and the Hui army of 8 Desolates province, we have at least a 70% chance of winning. As she spoke, Lin Muyu pressed her hand heavily on the table and said each word forcefully. In this battle, we must annihilate most of the effective forces of Yangshang's army and hold the control of the entire sea in the hands of our Qin Empire. We will suppress Yangshang's forces in the celestial pole continent. After that, we can fight however we want. The key is, how can we make Yangshang underestimate the enemy and be willing to fight with us on the sea? Feng Jixing said. This, we need to think about it at length. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, Bai Zai's mercenary group is the key. Let's wait for Si Kongyao to come. As for the battlefield, I think it should be near here. He gently pressed his palm on a certain place on the map. Tang Zhen's eyebrows relaxed and murmured, Changyuan Island. You're tuning into the Unparalleled SwordWill YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.